Good morning. Is football coming home?
The Three Lions roar to victory in the semi-final of the Euros, beating the Netherlands 2-1 in a nail-biting match.
Well, Ollie Watkins clinched the winner in the 90th minute.
Lost for words, really. When you score, there's emotions that come through your body, but this is just a different feeling. It was slow motion when I was running over to the boys and celebrating.
England are now in their third major final of a major tournament and will play Spain this Sunday.
Football fans around the world celebrate all night long following that historic victory in Dortmund.
To be honest, I didn't really think we had it, but we've got it, we've done it. Last minute again. Come on, England, come on.
Ellie's already said it once, but I'm going to say it again because I'm so excited. England are in their third, count them, 1, 2, 3, major final, and their first on foreign soil will now take on Spain Sunday night, 8 o'clock in the Euro 24 final.
Well, in other news this morning, a manhunt ends after a triple murder suspect is airlifted from a North London cemetery.
Starmer the statesman. The Prime Minister reaffirms the country's special relationship with the US as he concludes his first ever NATO summit in Washington.
The son of celebrity chef Jamie Oliver releases a cookbook at the age of 13. So we're asking today, do these children, well, kids of celebrities, get an unfair leg up in the world?
No signs of a heat wave anytime soon, but following the gloomier wet start to the week, I do at least have news of something a little drier and brighter for many of us. Coming up shortly in the forecast.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I'll tell you what is slightly depressing.
What?
Well, because we do get this whole is the football coming home thing. And that top line I said at the top of the, is football coming home, is exactly what I said at the top of the 6 o'clock last Sunday.
Did you?
After they won on Saturday night.
Hold on, so,
We've got
so
hope.
is it? Is it?
Is it coming home?
Is it?
Yes, it is.
It is.
It is.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Do you have hope?
I do.
High hopes
I
and possibly heartbreaks.
Exactly.
I worry. I do worry.
Well, you're going to worry. Of course you're going to worry. But I said, and I'm not going to be one of these I told you so, but months ago, we'd sit here talking about England and said, I think we are going to win the Euros.
Actually, you did.
I did say that,
remember
to
you
be
saying
fair.
that.
I may have changed my mind a week ago, and now I've changed it again, but it's very good.
So, come on then, what did you make of last night? Because I have to say,
Yeah.
and well, I mean, it's all the commentators said it as well, but that first half, especially at the beginning of the match, England seemed like a completely different side.
Yeah, absolutely. It almost looks like the nerves that were there in the qualifying, and there's a couple of things. Firstly, it seemed nervous, and it was when you've got a lot of players that were just, I know you have it. It wasn't exciting, wasn't going forward. And now, as we've gone through the rounds, it's almost like the shackles are off. And the difference, I think the thing that made a huge difference was that penalty shootout against Switzerland, because it seemed to give the team confidence. You could see how confident they were with those penalties. And I think it's now moved on, and there's confidence within the team. They're now going forward, and they went for it in that first half. It was like a Premier League game. It looked terrific.
Yeah, it did. I tell you what, though, we won 2-1.
Yeah.
Should we have had that first goal? That penalty? Because everyone says, well, no, it wasn't really a penalty.
Now, there's karma. Ronald Koeman, who is the Dutch manager, I'm calling it Koeman karma. I think this is going to be a thing. Koeman karma is a thing. Back in 1993, when England were qualifying for the World Cup, away against the Dutch, and it's the famous where Graham Taylor was on the bench saying, "Oh, do I not like that?" And there was a foul. Koeman stopped basically David Platt running into the box. It should have been a penalty. It was given as a free kick, and he should have been sent off. So then Koeman stayed on the pitch and scored the winning free kick at the other end.
Right.
Now, all these years on, I never forgot, Stephen. So Koeman karma is the words for the day. And sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. There's arguments. I've even had discussions out of the office going, oh, it definitely was a penalty. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think it was. No. It wasn't a penalty, but quite frankly, who cares? It doesn't really matter because sometimes they're given, sometimes they're not, and we have not had luck over the years. If you think of all the things from Euro 96 and Gaza just missing out and the penalty shootout, the luck has never gone with England, and we deserve some luck. And it finally seems that maybe we're getting it, and that's what it is.
And to be fair, I only caught the first half because we were actually sat on the tarmac.
Oh,
Naples
were you?
Airport. Yes, I think everyone was watching on their phones, and the Wi-Fi was so intermittent, it kept dropping out. And then
How
everyone had
bizarre
to
was
rejoin.
everybody sort of doing a bit of this?
Yes.
Can I look on yours?
I think our attack came from that really, really quick goal from the Netherlands, because it was in, like, what, 5 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Netherlands
was.
had scored.
7
then
minutes,
The attack came.
Simons.
And to be fair, it was quite a heavy attack then.
To be fair, that
from
is
England.
a football phrase already.
It was.
Already.
And
To
I
be
thought
fair,
we deserve this now. It's an attacking front.
yeah,
You could say
absolutely.
that.
We absolutely do deserve it. And also, is it vindication for Gareth Southgate?
Well.
Because Gareth has taken a lot of stick, and it was during those qualifying games when beer glasses were thrown over, plastic ones, I might add, that were being thrown over towards him, and they said, "Do you care?" "No, I don't care." And he was, but obviously it does. Obviously it hurts, but he's stuck with it, and he's done terrifically. And it was all about the substitutions last night.
Yeah.
Should we hear from him? Should we hear what he has to say?
I think we better have, because he didn't only get the winning goal for us, he was man of the match and goal of the match and everything else, wasn't he?
Oh, we're Ollie Watkins.
Yeah.
I was talking about Gareth Southgate.
Oh, no,
but yeah.
no, sorry. Yeah,
Let's hear from Gareth, though. I think there's Ollie Watkins there, but Gareth Southgate spoke, of course, after the game, and this is what he had to say.
It shows the more modern England way, but also the resilience and the character of the group, because Ollie Watkins has trained like that every day, and he's been ready for his moment, no matter how frustrated he might have been at not playing. He's been ready, and the whole group have been.
It was almost like he manifested it.
I was going to say that. He manifested this, didn't he?
He did. Ollie Watkins did, yeah.
Because he said to his teammate, give it to me.
to Cole Palmer.
And we'll go.
Because he came on the pitch, him and Cole Palmer came on, and he'd been waiting for his moment. Now, Harry Kane, the talisman, the captain of England, he comes off, they put Ollie Watkins, and it's like, well, this is your chance. And he'd said to Cole Palmer,
Yes.
you know, if we get on, give me the ball and I'll score. And he scored an amazing goal.
It was phenomenal.
It was the latest goal that was scored in either a semi-final or a final of a major championship. 90 minutes, so right on 90. And also, we've done it late. You know, we've done it late again. We scored late. Jude Bellingham, penalties, every time it's late. And that's what great teams do. So I'm getting overexcited, and it's far too early for me to get like this. So I may pass out by the time we get to 8 o'clock.
I think we might. Should we hear from Mr. Watkins?
Absolutely.
'Cause actually, I'm really impressed by. Is he 28?
28, Aston Villa.
And he just seems so cool, calm, and collected. Actually,
What a
Here
goal.
he is.
Yep.
The goal is, that's my bread and butter, running in behind and causing the defence trouble. I said to Cole that we were both going to go on the pitch, and he was going to set me up at half time, and it happened. I manifested it, and as soon as he turned, I knew to make the move, and you don't get that opportunity very often, so I had to be greedy. I had to take it, and I've just seen it go into the bottom corner. I don't think I've hit a ball that sweet before, obviously in such a special moment as well.
You know what? He said he manifested it. I didn't even know that's what he said, but that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I'll tell you who else was impressed.
Who?
President Biden.
No, really?
Really?
Was he aware that there was football going on?
He was chatting to our political editor, Christopher Hope.
OK.
Have a look at this.
Wow.
Watch the soccer, Mr. President. Do you watch the soccer?
That's what I heard.
It's good news.
Good news is right. I tell you what, that's all because of the Prime Minister.
Lost a game onto the Labour government.
Is football coming home, Prime Minister?
It looks like it.
There you go. That's quite sweet.
The soccer. What's soccer? Was soccer going on? Because the USA, they actually sacked their manager yesterday as well, Greg Berhalter, after they'd had a terrible time. So maybe Biden thinking, well, maybe I'll start supporting England now, for what it's worth.
For what it's worth. Well, look, it was great. It was great to see them really pull together last night.
We've got some great guests coming up. We've got Peter Shilton's going to join us a little bit later. And Trevor Steven as well, former England defender, played in the World Cup in '90. So we've got some great guests. We're going to talk about it a lot. Enjoy.
Great.
Fabulous. Lovely stuff.
Good stuff.
Paul, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
See you later on.
Well, do get in touch with us, what your thoughts were during the game last night, what a game it was.
Yeah.
gbnews.com/yoursay. Is it coming home? Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And where are you going to be watching it on Sunday as well? Where are you going to be watching it?
At home.
You're really into this.
Yeah, I know.
He stayed up
I know.
last night to watch it, the whole thing.
Yeah, it was a very late night.
And you think worth it, don't you?
I do think worth it, and Sunday I think we'll probably watch it at home, and I think we'll do a proper snack night, possibly a pizza night.
That sounds great. Well, yeah, get in touch
Beer
with
for
your
the better
plans.
half.
Could be history making.
Yeah, could be. I mean, it'd be amazing if we win. I'll be straight on the phone to you.
You make sure you are.
I will. Right,
Alicia Lloyd says, go Team England.
Yeah.
Michael Sherlock says England's just been lucky with an easy draw through the tournament.
Oh,
come on, Michael.
Enjoy the moment. Come on.
Just scraping through games and everyone's treating them like national heroes.
Oh, no.
Yes. Anyway,
No.
do keep your views coming in, please.
Yeah, some of them nicer. You come in a bit nicer.
We want to hear some excitement.
Yes. Right, there is some serious news going on today, as I'm sure you're aware, but the chief suspect in a triple murder in Hertfordshire has been found by police after an extensive manhunt.
Well, it's understood that the three murdered women, aged 25, 28 and 61, were two daughters and the wife of BBC racing commentator John Hunt. The suspect is receiving medical treatment, having been found in a cemetery in Enfield with injuries. No arrests have yet been made and the investigation remains ongoing.
Well, let's talk to former police officer Oliver Lawrence. Good to see you, Oliver. I mean, the most tragic case here, a widely publicised manhunt. Police have worked pretty quickly on this.
They have. Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Ellie. Listen, words completely are lost this morning in terms of what Mr. Hunt must be going through, in terms of his unimaginable loss of his wife and two daughters. A quite tragic set of circumstances. We're just starting to learn the particular details of the traumatic events that those three women would have gone through, and obviously a frantic manhunt by police, which has led to one individual currently receiving treatment, and hopefully police investigations will continue. But an event which would have shaken to the core a local bushy community as a result of these events in the last 72 hours.
I can't even imagine what that community is going through, or what John Hunt and his eldest daughter, his last remaining daughter, how they are feeling this morning, as you say, as these details come out. I mean, already we've had a political reaction to this, talking about potentially tougher rules, tougher legislation around purchasing crossbows.
I think, Ellie, the conversation this morning has got to be our serious problem across this country of violence against women and girls. You know, all too often I sit in front of this camera, we have conversations about homicides across the UK involving males who are attacking their female partners, which are leading to these horrific events and circumstances. We know this is a domestic related event. We know that this involves a relationship breakdown and the fallout from that. And we've got to start having serious conversations about accountability, about us acknowledging that we have a significant problem with violence in this country against women and girls, and we've got to put a stop to it. That does have to come from our legislators. Our government have to recognise that. I think they do. I think credit's got to be given to the police in this particular case for the speed at which they moved to bring this individual into police custody, because obviously there was a risk to public safety yesterday. But I think that is where the conversation has got to go today. I think we've got to remember fondly those three women. They have got to be at the forefront of our minds, as has Mr. Hunt, and we've got to start having these serious conversations about how we protect women and girls in our communities across the UK.
Yeah, let's just be clear, though. This is allegedly a domestic issue, and we don't know we can't say any more than that at this stage. It does seem ridiculous, though, doesn't it, that, you know, we're now looking at, you know, ways to legislate against crossbows. Like we still haven't legislated properly against zombie knives. I mean, these horrific weapons, actually, that should only be available to anyone within certain circumstances. The fact that they're still out there and there isn't proper legislation surrounding them.
Well, the fact that you can get access to and possess a crossbow is highly concerning. As you mentioned, zombie knives. We've had an issue with this in the past 6-12 months across many communities when we see a significant increase in knife crime. There are plenty of laws out there restricting possession of certain weapons. But again, you know, this will be an interesting challenge for Yvette Cooper, our new Home Secretary, as to how she will tackle this. I know yesterday she said that legislation is under review. And I'm sure that this event and many others will trigger her and her office to have have a further look and a further analysis at how she and her department can protect communities up and down the United Kingdom to prevent incidents like this from happening again. But certainly very troubling that people can come into possession of these weapons across the country and use them allegedly in the way that they have been described in this event.
Yeah, absolutely. Oliver Lawrence, really good to see you this morning. Thank you.
And just on the efforts of the police there that we were touching on, Lou Harris has been in touch saying, I live in Watford. Yesterday was a very surreal day. I think Hertfordshire police deserve credit for their handling of yesterday. This sort of thing doesn't happen here. My thoughts are with John Hunt and his family.
Just unbelievable, frankly. What they are going through as a wider family now.
Just absolutely.
Is absolutely
heartbreaking,
horrific.
Isn't it? Horrific.
Right, NATO 2024 is coming to a close with Keir Starmer completing his first trip as Prime Minister on the world stage.
Well, the Prime Minister has confirmed the UK's £3 billion a year military aid for Kyiv will continue and said the visit was an opportunity to recommit to NATO and the special relationship with the United States.
Well, our political editor, Chris Hope, was in Washington and has sent back this report.
Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, fresh from his general election victory last Friday, is here in Washington, D.C. for the 75th anniversary meeting of the NATO Defence Organisation. Joe Biden, the US Democratic President, he's chairing it. He met with Sir Keir Starmer yesterday on stage at the NATO summit, and the pair met last night for dinner at the White House and a meeting in the Oval Office, a fireside chat in the Oval Office. No question, Sir Keir Starmer is the guy to meet. We saw a very warm meeting between the French President Emmanuel Macron, who may see Sir Keir Starmer as an antidote to the populism sweeping the continent. But still there's pressure on Sir Keir Starmer. He won't say when the UK will spend £1 billion more on defence, when we might meet that target of hitting 2.5% of our GDP spent on defence, the billions more required by Ukraine, our key ally. He did meet with President Zelensky, the Ukraine leader, yesterday in Washington. That was a warm meeting. We saw David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, and John Healey, the Defence Secretary, both there meeting with him. But otherwise, key issues remain, notably our prisons. Overnight, Sir Keir Starmer has said they will announce very shortly plans to release criminals early, maybe after serving as little as 40% of their terms or their jail terms. He, as a former chief prosecutor, knows there's real problems in prisons and the need to take action. He'll try and make sure that only the least dangerous are released early, but there's pressure on Sir Keir Starmer. If any of those prisoners are released early commit further crimes, then the heat's back on him. He's got to get planning new prisons quickly. He's blaming the Tory party for now, but that can't go on forever. Christopher Hope, Washington, D.C.
Well, joining us now is political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield. Good to see you this morning, Kevin. And we saw our first glimpse, didn't we, of Starmer, the statesman, in Washington, D.C. How do you think it went?
Yeah, it seems to have gone pretty well. These are the trappings, I guess, of being Prime Minister. You get to rub shoulders with powerful leaders from around the world. You get into the Oval Office, meet the President. And those are the, as I say, those are the perks, I guess, of being Prime Minister. He seems to have avoided any obvious gaffes. He certainly looked the part, I think, but the real politics of the situation, as Chris Hope was just talking about there, is this pledge to hit 2.5% of spend of GDP on defence. This is something I think that's going to be asked of the Labour government for a long time. They've said they will hit it at some point, but we know that we live in a very dangerous world, and I think the rubber's going to hit the road very soon, and they're going to have to come up with a firm date as to when they will hit that target.
Yeah, but the fact it has been reiterated now they're in government actually adds some weight to that, doesn't it? Previously, in manifesto terms, well, perhaps you could sort of dismiss it as just a claim. Well, now, actually, they are going to have to put the money where their mouth is.
They are, absolutely, and obviously we know there are all sorts of competing pressures spending-wise. They've got the junior doctors dispute to settle. You heard Chris also mention there about prison places. There's a lot of pressure now on the Labour government. As you say, they're no longer in opposition. They have to actually keep their promises, and they have to find the money from somewhere, and they're pinning it all on economic growth. I think we're going to get some more economic growth figures today. Obviously, it's a bit early yet to be saying whether that's down to the Labour government or not, but they will have to see growth very quickly. And yeah, I think they will have to put a firm date on when they're going to hit the spending target for defence. We've already heard a lot of top brass, former military chiefs saying, you know, it's one thing having an ambition to hit 2.5%. You actually have to say when you're going to do it, and I think that's going to have to come sooner rather than later.
I mean, Sir Keir Starmer said that this was an opportunity to recommit to NATO and also to recommit to that special relationship between the US and the UK. Where do you think that relationship stands now? It looked pretty cosy between Sir Keir Starmer and President Biden yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's very strong, clearly, but Joe Biden's under an awful lot of pressure domestically. George Clooney, the latest big name to come out and say that he should stand down. Obviously, we've got the American elections in November. At the moment, it looks like it'll be President Trump again, which I think will put a bit of strain on the special relationship, given the sort of opposite political viewpoints of Keir Starmer and Donald Trump. But yeah, I don't think there's any suggestion that the relationship between the US and the UK is strong and will continue to be so going forward.
OK. Kevin, good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the optics are good. I think, you know, I know a lot of you watching aren't particular fans of Sir Keir Starmer, but the optics look good. We look pretty good on the world stage at the moment. You know, and that counts for something. And, you know, at least defence spending is getting that headline again,
yes.
which I think is important for our armed forces as well as our personal security. But I think the armed forces need to feel like they're being loved a bit more.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it matters to the general public as well, doesn't it? With the state of the world right now, to hear that defence spending is a priority, I think, is a relief to many people. And to see Sir Keir Starmer look so comfortable in the Oval Office, I mean, as you say, it is optics, but it does matter, doesn't it? It's how you're perceived on the world stage.
Very early days at the moment of this Labour government, but, you know, no mess-ups so far.
Well, they've hit the ground running, haven't they? Straight away into Washington.
They have. Right, should we see what the weather's going to do for you? Because I'm fed up with the rain. Here's Aidan McGiven.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Following the gloomy and wet weather we've seen so far this week, well, it's going to stay largely cloudy today with some showery rain, but for many it's going to be drier and brighter compared with the last few days. Certainly some brightness coming through for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, a few showers here, but otherwise largely fine. The remnants of the wet weather we've seen during recent days just clearing North East Scotland through the morning, and brighter skies for the south, where it's going to be relatively warm, 23 or 22 Celsius. But in between this zone of cloud just sticking about for parts of East and North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England, showers or longer spells of rain at times. Some sharp showers actually later in the day coming through for the Midlands and East Wales. But for Scotland at least, it is cheering up compared with recent weather. The best of the sunshine, the north and the west of Scotland. 15, 16 Celsius, not particularly hot, but nevertheless feeling pleasant enough in the sun out of the breeze. Northern Ireland likewise, 1 or 2 light showers, otherwise largely fine. But we've got these sharp showers across the Midlands into East Wales that one needs to keep an eye on. They could be fairly heavy and hit around the time of the rush hour. In the far south, largely dry and a clear evening to come before this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain moves up from the continent and just spills into the south coast by the end of the day. That's going to continue overnight. So elsewhere, it's turning drier with some clear spells. It's going to be a fresher night compared with recent nights in the south, but temperatures still at 13 or 14 Celsius at the start of Friday. Friday starts off with a lot of fine weather. Actually, the best of the sunshine this time will be across central and southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, for example, but we'll see a lot of cloud in the south and outbreaks of rain, particularly towards the southeast, and some sharp showers developing towards the far southwest. Otherwise, for many, it is a drier and brighter day. It's not going to feel particularly warm. Temperatures in the high teens.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Can I just say, you know, this awful weather that we've had in the last week, and it has been grim. You've missed it all.
I know I have.
Because you've been in Italy.
Italia. Yes, it was 32 degrees yesterday.
Oh, and she's been sending me pictures.
I have.
Sent me a picture. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Sent me a picture saying, "Oh, this is my view right now," and it's like lemon trees and all that. Whereas my view was of a biffa bin as I was picking up my laundry.
You're like, I hate you.
I did say I hate you.
Yeah, well, it didn't go down very well. If I was sending pictures to anyone, they'd be like, you're not missing anything here. It's raining cats and dogs.
Yeah. So anyway.
But it was, I hate to be that person, but it was maybe a little bit too hot. Too hot. I haven't got any No!
That's what I can say to you for that. Serves you right. It's time for the Great British Giveaway now. Your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far is an incredible £30,000.
Yes, and it's totally tax-free, which means that it's all yours. You'll get the lot to do whatever you like with. Here are all the details that you need to become our next big winner.
Summer could be a scorcher with your chance to win £30,000 cash, our biggest cash prize to date. It's totally tax-free, which means you get to spend every single penny however you like. What plans would you make with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank account? Take your family on the ultimate holiday, buy that treat that's always seemed out of reach, or just put it in the bank for a later date. However you'd spend it, make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Best of luck to you. £30,000.
It's a lot of money.
Could I be a voiceover artist?
I thought that was very good.
£30,000.
Yeah, no, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Tax-free? Not bad. And now the question on everyone's lips this morning, is football finally coming home?
We don't know.
Well, I don't know, but John Andrews says I've been waiting 52 years to see England lift a trophy. So I hope you see it on Sunday. That would be good, wouldn't it?
It would be good. I'm just laughing because Adi Lamb has just sent a message. PDs.com just saying, reform, thumbs up. I don't know what that's in relation.
I don't know.
But you'll be enjoying, I'm sure you enjoyed Nigel Farage in the Commons this week with his MP's pass, and there he is doing all this stuff. So good on him. Good on him. But I don't quite know that. Reform. Excellent. Anyway, Paul Coyte's going to be here. Yes, Paul Coyte's going to be asking if football is coming home. Reform. With all the analysis in just a moment.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Farage Nigel Paul, Reform UK, 21,225.
Believe me, folks, this is just the first step of something that is going to stun all of you.
This Monday at 7 p.m, GB News welcomes the return of Nigel Farage, MP, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Simon Evans, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
she could have said stump.
You made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
It went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Arlene Foster on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Should we talk all the latest sports news? Paul Coyte. What should we talk about, Paul Coyte?
Wimbledon, possibly?
No.
I don't have time for that. You know, there's only one story in town, and it's going to get bigger as well by the time we get round to Monday.
I'll tell you what I'm surprised at. It's our first final on foreign soil.
Yes.
I hadn't realised that we hadn't done any on non-foreign soil.
No, we've got one. Isn't it funny, though, the phrase foreign soil? Yeah. It's on foreign soil. It's like... but it's... The win in '66, of course, was at Wembley, and then the other final, which was in the Euros, last Euros, where we lost to Italy, that was at Wembley as well. So you think in the history of the... How many years have England been playing football? Over 10,000 years. 10,000 years. We've never reached a final on foreign soil, apart from Richard the Lionheart, but I don't think that counts. So that's it. It really is... a tale of momentum. This is that boring word that I use over and over and over again when it comes to tournament football and tournament sport. It's not how you start, it's how you finish, as someone's saying. It starts slow and builds. And even me, I was beginning to doubt because things were not good at the start, Stephen.
No, well, they weren't. I mean, they really weren't. But actually, I just thought it just seemed like a totally different team at the start of the match last night. I mean, it was so fast.
It was so fast. It was like a Premier League. It was like a Premier League game, and it suited us. We spoke to Mark Lawrenson, ex-Liverpool defender, Match of the Day pundit for goodness knows how many years, a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And Mark came on and said, look, once we start playing better teams, I think you'll see a difference in England. And a lot of us are like, oh, come on, no, really? I mean, it's just not good enough, and surely that'll be worse. He believed in this.
I remember that interview.
Yeah, do you remember? And said that, and we were kind of a bit like, well, I don't know whether it is going to happen. And, of course, he was right. And it happened in 90. It happened in Italia 90. We were knocked out of the semi-final stage there against Germany. That was a slow build. It began with Ireland, and it was very dull, and it was a draw, and then Belgium happened, and there was... And this is another thing that I referred to a couple of days ago, was David Platt, and I've already mentioned him once today, is David Platt scored a goal against Belgium, and then it was a great goal, and then that kind of galvanised the side, and then it went like that. So for me, it was the penalties the other night that then seemed to be that launch point. And from now on... You know, I even think... have we got... any wood?
No.
Any wood?
Yeah,
there's no wood. OK, there is wood under there. Trust me, I am touching wood right now that we can actually beat the Spanish. And what a game that is going to be on Sunday.
Do you think we can, though? Because Spain are very good.
They are very good.
That's all I know.
But you know what, Ellie? We're pretty good too. The amount of the players that we have, the problem is that we have these great individual players, but they weren't playing as a unit, as a team. They're playing as individuals. Now they're playing as a team. Who knows how far we can go? So we've got one game to go, and it's going to be against Spain, and it's in Berlin, Sunday night. It's the final of Euro 2024. You know who's going to be there?
You.
No. Oh, I wish. Have you got a ticket for me?
No.
Is this a surprise? Jack Carson's going to be there. We got Jack anyway. Jack is probably somewhere in Germany, whether he's travelling from Dortmund to Berlin right now. Hey, Jack, where are you?
Good morning. Well, I'm in Bochum, where we've been staying for this semi-final. So we're a few miles outside of Dortmund, and I'm going to be probably sleeping on a train later on today, on my way to Berlin, ready.
Those expenses are really mounting up now, aren't they? I'm really sorry about that. You know, it's all come through these sports expenses, and I just said, look, he's a young lad, he'll be fine. He can sleep on a train, he doesn't need a hotel. Sorry about that.
Well, at least obviously half the expenses haven't gone on beer, maybe. So that's one positive. But I mean, we looked yesterday, didn't we? When you came to me yesterday, and we saw just the sea of orange. I mean, that just got more and more and more throughout the day. And they reckon around 130,000 Dutch fans had made the trip. So an extra 50,000 to what we maybe thought would turn up. And every fan park in Dortmund was full of orange. They'd got a huge open park near the Signal Iduna Park, which was full of easily more than 50,000 Dutch fans. And we went into the city centre in Dortmund to try and find a sports bar to watch it, just any kind of TV to watch the game. And just every single bar dotted around the city centre was just full of Dutch fans. We actually ended up watching the game through the window of a pizza takeaway shop who put a TV up in their waiting area, and we watched it outside on some chairs. I mean, that is the glory, the glamour, I guess, of the Euro semi-final. It was me and about 10 other England fans that were all there, surrounded by even more Dutch fans. You can imagine when that Ollie Watkins winner went in on 90 minutes, there were some unhappy faces towards us as English fans who were getting
They were crying in their clogs, weren't they? That's what they were doing. They were very, very unhappy. I'm so sorry. But how did they react to it? Because I know there was a little bit of trouble yesterday, but generally I know the Dutch fans are fantastic and the English fans were. How did the Dutch fans take it, and how were they with you straight after that? Was it all very friendly? I hope so.
Well, to be fair, it was actually very friendly. You know, there was a little bit of kind of banter between the two in some respect, but actually there was a lot of sometimes, when we were interviewing a few fans after the game, there was a lot of just pats on the back, shaking of hands. Well done. Like you say, a lot of Netherlands fans that had come up to us a little bit unhappy with that penalty, not believing it was a penalty. But you said it earlier perfectly, Paul. Koeman karma. So there we go. What comes around comes around. So yeah, we go there. But the Dutch fans had gone away quite quietly, and it was a nightmare getting out of Dortmund last night. It really was, with all of the roadblocks that the police had put in. But yeah, the Dutch fans headed home quite quietly. More to be said of what some of the Dutch ultras had actually done during the day, when we saw those pictures on social media, didn't we, of chairs being thrown at some England fans. That's the Dutch ultras. So it's a real small minority group of these Dutch fans. The majority were so good with all of the England fans, laughing with each other before the game, having a bit of banter, chanting between each other, kicking a football between each other as well. And it's those pictures, I mean, just in Dortmund in the day, when they do that left to right kind of jumping, I mean, it was just an incredible atmosphere. It's one of the most incredible atmospheres I've ever experienced before a football game, and I don't think anybody really, if you're experienced in the years of broadcasting, you've seen, that kind of reaction, that kind of, number of Dutch fans coming to a foreign city for a game of football in a European Championship. It was absolutely a fantastic atmosphere, and they might have gone home a little bit quiet, but the England fans certainly made up for the noise that they were bringing during the day, during the evening, when we knew we were going to Berlin.
We'll see you in Berlin, Jack. Safe journey.
Good luck on your travels, Jack.
You just pop into that blacked-out limo behind you.
Oh, by the way, we've had word that the expenses will go as far as a blanket. So there we are. Tuck yourself up on the train, and we'll look after you.
Oh, he's having too much fun. Right, get out. No, I tell you what.
I think they call it interrailing, is what they do.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Interrailing. That was the trend when I was young.
Yeah.
Not that I ever did it.
No, I didn't either, no.
I did it.
Did you want to do it?
I did, yeah.
Did you?
We're stuck somewhere. I can't remember which country it was now. It might have been Slovenia. And loads of bandits got on the train.
No.
We didn't realise we were just very naive girls. Yeah. And we had our rucksacks. They were like, girls, what are you doing on this train? And we were trying to save money. Not in a hotel, so we just said, we're just going to sleep here. And they said, well, the train is now full of bandits. That probably wasn't the brightest idea.
That's like a scene from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
So we just strapped our rucksacks to our legs.
Yeah.
And we then held them, and then we took it in turns to keep watch.
I don't think they would have been after what was ever in your
There was
bags.
nothing there, just
Yeah.
Primark clothes. There wasn't anything on us of it. But anyway, we made it through the night safely, and I'm here to tell the tale.
There you go, thank you.
But yeah, I wouldn't recommend sleeping on a train.
So there you go, Jack. Something to look forward to
There you go,
later,
Jack.
Berlin.
That'll be his match tonight, yeah.
Got your rucksack to your legs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paul, thank you.
We'll talk more. We've got some great guests. We'll talk a lot more about it through the morning.
Yes, great.
Can I just raise a point from Jenny GB, who's been in touch? She says, Stephen, I can't see why you think Labour are doing well so far. It's all talk and no action. I didn't say they were doing. I just said the optics were looking pretty good at the moment, which is fair enough. They've not been in power a week. I'm not saying it's all wonderful that Labour's in, but let's give them a chance at least, because we've got them for the next 5 years. I may as well see what they can come up with. But there you go. Right, we've got the papers heading your way very shortly with Lynn May and Alan Miller. It's in a couple of minutes.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed eastbound for an investigation between junctions 29 and 30 from the M1 to Rothwell, causing queues. The M62 in Cheshire is blocked westbound by an accident between junctions 8 and 7 from the west of Warrington to Rainhill Stoops, with queues towards there. On Merseyside, Queen's Drive at Mossley Hill is closed for emergency repairs to damage caused after flooding. The M32 in Bristol is closed northbound from junction 1 Hambrook to the M4 after an accident. On the M26 in Kent, there are westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, and in Surrey the A24 remains closed northbound from the Clarks Green roundabout near Ockley to the M25 at Leatherhead after a diesel spill on Tuesday. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
No one wants their child to be a fussy eater. But what is the secret to expanding your child's culinary horizons?
Is there a way to get kids away from the kids' menu, the fish fingers, the chips? Joining us now is the UK's top-selling author of children's cookery books, Annabelle Carmel. Good morning, Annabelle.
Thank you, so lovely to be here.
So, first of all, what's the issue with kids just having the traditional easy meals like fish fingers, you know, chips, beans?
It really depends if they've got preservatives in them, if they're full of salt. So I like to make them myself, and it's really easy. So I make my own chicken glazed nuggets, and super easy to make using proper pieces of chicken. You can cook them in the air fryer now, which is absolutely brilliant, so you need to fry them. And I think that it's really important that children grow up loving good food, because they make their minds up by the age of 5 what they like and what they don't like. And it's quite difficult to change their minds after that. But it's good to know that fussy eating is genetic. It's not to do with your cooking.
Oh,
that's not to say that you can't do something about it. So I've written many, many books, and I have an app with 1,000 recipes on it and a lot of how to make your own junk food, how to make your own isolis out of fresh fruit.
Yes.
How to make your own pizzas. I make the most amazing homemade pizza. I actually brought you some cookies here.
So these are your books here. So my first cookbook, that's for how old children?
That's from the age of 1.
OK, and you've got a weaning one at the end, the baby one?
Yes, that's my very first book. I lost my first child. It was really sad. She died at the age of 3 months. And my second child was the world's worst eater. And I wrote that book as my legacy to Natasha, never thinking that it would start a whole career.
Oh, bless you.
It sold millions of copies, and it's still popular.
Is it quite pivotal and important that you introduce kids to the weaning stage, or, you know, how important?
It's very important because the processed weaning food in pouches or jars, it's heated, so a lot of the vitamins aren't there anymore, so making your own is so easy and much cheaper.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Very good.
Now, let's see... Oh, I was just sorting Alan's collar out. Let's see what's making the news with political commentator Lynn May and co-founder of the Together Association, Alan Miller. Good to see you both this morning. Lynn.
Yes, good morning.
Let's start with Keir Starmer at the NATO summit.
OK, so Keir Starmer has begun to reset Britain's relations with key allies as his plan to ensure Ukraine's pathway to joining NATO. So he's essentially come out and said that he's going to completely support Ukraine. He's going to support and bolster their flight mission in terms of their weapons. And it looks like he's going to also push for Ukraine in joining NATO. Now, I personally don't think this is a good idea. I think one of the reasons as to why there's a conflict is because in 1990, 1994 and 1996, there were assurances to Russia that we would not expand NATO eastward. And if you look at the United States of America with the Cuban Missile Crisis, as soon as they felt threatened, they wanted to attack Cuba. So, to me, this is a bit of hypocrisy. I think if we expand eastward, we're going to see more conflicts in the region. So we have to take a bit of accountability on this.
To be fair, I mean, a Conservative government would have done the same thing here.
I absolutely agree. This is not essentially me blaming Labour or blaming Keir. I know that this is a cross-party initiative. I just don't agree with it personally.
It is interesting because I think that they share this thing, and I think that there's a kind of technocratic impulse when you can declare yourself internationally to be very confident, but less confident about resolving problems in the UK. I'm always concerned about that. But we should explore this because there tends to be this kind of silly rejection of empirical data that's actually happened. So in '97, NATO, which we were told at the end of the Cold War had finished its role historically, and we could have embraced everyone into the market much more. There was an attempt to do that, and going into with the Soviet Union, the old former Soviet Union, Russia. But then there were a few red lines, and it was around things like going into Hungary, Poland, the Czech Republic, all of the former Soviet allies, Lithuania, Estonia, and the red line really was around Ukraine. Now, people from the CIA to military strategists have all discussed this, and I think the question is, what do we want in the medium and long term? How do we want to be in a global world, and how do we want to assert things or not? Because in the end, people do make peace, right? But it's on what terms? And I think that having a realpolitik assessment and being honest and clear about that's important. And I get concerned that there are so many advisors now to Keir Starmer, like Tony Blair. He's talking about people like Mandelson and Miliband being US ambassadors. People are all very involved in architects for previous really problematic international interventions. And I think we need to step back and really have a proper evaluation of things. And we've seen some name-calling recently about this kind of thing, but it's essential that we really talk about it in a grown-up way.
I mean, it's interesting because you're both sort of reiterating, in effect, with the points that Nigel Farage made during the election, which obviously got him an awful lot of stick. But when you look at it in this sort of context, it makes a lot of sense.
For Keir to do this?
No, for what Nigel said.
Yes,
about
absolutely.
poking the bear. But there must be all these NATO ambassadors and leaders and all the rest of it, people who are all involved in this, they must be aware of all of this. Do they know something we don't?
I think that they have to be seen as being strong to continue this sort of Western strength and empire. And if they, cower and say, we better not poke the bear, it could lead to Putin having an advantage over the West. So I understand why they're doing it. I just don't agree with it. And I don't like that there's not that conversation. When Nigel Farage says we're poking the bear, all of a sudden he's pro-Putin. No, he's not.
No.
He's saying things that are common sense where many others have actually agreed, but no one wants to come out and say it.
Yeah.
Well, Alan, President Biden is also facing pressure at home, isn't he? With George Clooney being the latest to come out publicly and tell him, advise him to stand down.
Indeed, he is. Most people will have seen President Biden's debate last month with Donald Trump. There were all sorts of very strange things happening there. We've seen a range of other things. Some people are calling it fake news, some of it, but we've seen some very strange behaviour. George Clooney just a few weeks ago did a fundraiser raising $28 million. He's been a really huge advocate. He is a huge advocate of the Democrats. But and interestingly, Nancy Pelosi as well has refused to solidify her support for him, saying that President Biden has to make some decisions about what's upcoming. All of this is in the context of a very short period of time in the run-up to November. Who then else may be put forward as a candidate? Joe Biden has said he's unequivocally not going to do this unless the Lord instructs him. But he will come under increasing pressure. And people are also concerned that it will mean that in both houses in the chamber, they may not get Democratic representatives, which will mean they'll be less able to challenge a Republican legislation. So there's going to be increasing pressure there. I mean, I think most people are concerned with what they're seeing. It looks very strange, and it does beg the question, is it going to be someone like Kamala Harris? Are other people going to be on the slate?
God forbid.
They wouldn't.
God forbid, yeah.
Kamala Harris.
Where has she been?
I mean, her ratings are terrible.
We don't see her. We hardly ever see her. Up till, for God knows how long, well over a year. We saw her on that phone in her jogging, attire. We've done it, we've done it. Then after then, she took this sort of hiatus and she pops up at a party here and there. But I don't think anyone wants Kamala Harris. But for Biden to still be in situ, I just think is so damaging.
I'll tell you what I saw, and it was on Twitter, which is obviously not the best place to get anything, but it was a head-on comparison between Biden's debate with Trump last time round and this time round.
Yeah.
And just the way he's speaking
Painful,
and everything
isn't
is
it?
just so
Painful.
It's like night and day. It's like night and day. But the other thing we have to remember is that what's happening in America, and some of those things are happening here, the ascendancy of many of the cultural questions, the divisions that are in America around certain key things are going to be accentuated. And one of the things about Joe Biden, he had the ability to often go across the House and work across party, but we're seeing increasing division around central crucial issues, and I think that we're going to see a continuation of that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out.
Do you think this is going to grow and grow, or do you think that President Biden saying, I'm standing where the Lord tells me to or not kind of thing?
I think more people are going to call. I think they've left it too late. It shouldn't have taken the debate for people to now admit he's unfit for the role. And I think, personally, let's just look at this on a humane level. If this was our granddad, our husband, our partner, whatever the case may be, we would kind of have a word and say, this is actually a little bit scary now. We wouldn't want our partner to be embarrassed on the world stage. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it is embarrassing.
Do you think there's been a lot of protection from the Biden administration, that it did take until that debate last month where we saw it finally?
Absolutely. They've covered him. His people have made sure that there's been less focus on it. We need to remember as well, the Democratic Party is, in much the same way the Labour Party in Britain is riven with many divisions. We've got the new group of younger people like Alexandria AOC, and others that are kind of really campaigning hard around very particular issues, as we've seen here, around issues like Gaza and Black Lives Matter, a whole number of different things. There's deep questions within the Democratic Party, who would be the next level of leadership, what that's going to mean, how much that's connected to the demos more broadly. And all of this is going to be in the context of some major issues facing America around the economy, infrastructure and other issues.
Well, all right, let's move on to the Mail, should we? And this is, thankfully, it causes no concern for us, but apparently people who gossip at work, Lynn, are very sociable, but not very good at their job.
Yeah, so it was found, a study, that people who actually are in the office, having a good chinwag, having a gossip, are less capable at their jobs, but they're fantastic socially. Now, if that is you, I don't want people to feel, all is lost, because oftentimes to climb the social ladder within the workplace, including the actual working ladder, you have to be social. There's so many conversations around where people, move up the scale, and it's because they often go to the pub, they have those chats.
Well, gossip, though, it's nasty.
Well, they smooth. I used to work with a guy, and I don't think he was particularly fantastic, but he really rubbed shoulders with heads of departments, told them what they wanted to hear, and now he's, head of department himself. So sometimes I do think you need a balance. I think you definitely need to be able to be proficient at your job, good at your job, but there's nothing wrong with a bit of a gossip, is there?
Oh, as Moira Rose famously said, gossip is the devil's telephone.
But I do think the being able to network and socialise and integrate and talk are very, very important qualities and attributes. I'm always concerned about intelligence tests because I think
Well, you shouldn't take so many, Alan.
Yeah, exactly. I think the criteria and the context of the evaluation and assessment of those things can be really tricky, right? There's a whole range of they talk about objectivity, but there's a whole range of subjective impositions on those things. But interestingly with this as well, they do talk about night owls being a little bit more capable of doing things as opposed to those that get up early. Now, I used to be a night bird much more, get up early, but I think that the night time is a very crucial part of...
We're screwed on both
everything
fronts,
else.
Yeah, it's not looking
Are
good
you
for
naturally,
us.
though, happy to get... Are you morning people?
No.
I'm
You're not?
naturally an early bird, yeah.
Oh, I'm
okay.
Not. No, I'm not at all. And on that note, we're going to have a little gossip in a couple of minutes.
Ooh.
You two, you can go and have a gossip in the green room.
Thank you.
And we can look at the weather with Aidan.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Following the gloomy and wet weather we've seen so far this week, well, it's going to stay largely cloudy today with some showery rain, but for many it's going to be drier and brighter compared with the last few days. Certainly some brightness coming through for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, a few showers here, but otherwise largely fine. The remnants of the wet weather we've seen during recent days just clearing northeast Scotland through the morning, and brighter skies for the south, where it's going to be relatively warm, 23 or 22 Celsius. But in between this zone of cloud just sticking about for parts of East and North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England, showers or longer spells of rain at times. Some sharp showers actually later in the day coming through for the Midlands and East Wales. But for Scotland at least, it is cheering up compared with recent weather. The best of the sunshine, the north and the west of Scotland. 15, 16 Celsius, not particularly hot, but nevertheless feeling pleasant enough in the sun out of the breeze. Northern Ireland likewise, 1 or 2 light showers, otherwise largely fine. But we've got these sharp showers across the Midlands into East Wales that one needs to keep an eye on. They could be fairly heavy and hit around the time of the rush hour. In the far south, largely dry and a clear evening to come before this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain moves up from the continent and just spills into the south coast by the end of the day. That's going to continue overnight. So elsewhere, it's turning drier with some clear spells. It's going to be a fresher night compared with recent nights in the south, but temperatures still at 13 or 14 Celsius at the start of Friday. Friday starts off with a lot of fine weather. Actually, the best of the sunshine this time will be across central and southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, for example, but we'll see a lot of cloud in the south and outbreaks of rain, particularly towards the southeast, and some sharp showers developing towards the far southwest. Otherwise, for many, it is a drier and brighter day. It's not going to feel particularly warm. Temperatures in the high teens.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, the inside lanes closed eastbound after an accident between junctions 29 and 30 from the M1 to Rothwell, causing queues. The M62 in Cheshire's closed westbound now from junction 9 at Winnick to 7 at Rainhill Stoops after an accident with delays towards there. On Merseyside, Queen's Drive at Mossley Hill is closed for emergency repairs to damage caused by flooding earlier. On the M26 in Kent, there are westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. On the M25 in Surrey, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed anti-clockwise, where a van's broken down at junction 9 at Leatherhead. And also in Surrey, the A24 remains closed northbound from the Parks Green roundabout near Ockley to junction 9 of the M25 at Leatherhead after a diesel spill on Tuesday. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
£30,000 in cash has to be won. It's our biggest cash prize so far, and it could be yours. Phil was the winner. Listen to what he says about winning the Great British Giveaway.
Hi, my name's Phil Cox. I just looked at my account and thought, oh my God, yeah, it's true, it's gone into my account. And if I can win it, anybody can win it.
The next big winner could be you, with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations from the beautiful city of Belfast.
And right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Is football coming home?
The Three Lions roared to victory in the semi-final of the Euros, beating the Netherlands 2-1 in a nail-biting match.
Well, Ollie Watkins clinched the winner in the 90th minute.
Lost for words, really. When you score, there's emotions that come through your body, but this is just a different feeling. It was slow motion when I was running over to the boys and celebrating.
Now England will face Spain in the final this Sunday.
Well, football fans around the country celebrating all night long following England's historic victory in Dortmund.
To be honest, I didn't really think we had it, but we've got it, we've done it. Last minute again. Come on, England, come on!
This is the point where I usually tell you the sports news, but there's only one story in town. We know what that is. So England are in their third major final and their first on foreign soil, and will now take on Spain in the Euro 24 final this Sunday, 8 o'clock.
Well, in other news this morning, a manhunt ends after a triple murder suspect is airlifted from a North London cemetery.
Starmer, the statesman, the Prime Minister reaffirms the country's special relationship with the US as he concludes his first ever NATO summit in Washington.
The son of celebrity chef Jamie Oliver releases a cookbook at the age of 13. So we're asking, do celebrity children get an unfair advantage?
No signs of a heat wave anytime soon, but following the gloomier wet start to the week, I do at least have news of something a little drier and brighter for many of us. Coming up shortly in the forecast.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, what else is there to talk about this morning? Well, there are one or two other things to talk about this morning, but in terms of kicking things off, Paul Coit.
Yes.
It's got to be the football.
It's got to be the football.
I have to say, when it started last night, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be it. Because you just get that, it's what England are like.
Yep.
You think, we've got to a semi-final. Let's celebrate with the fact we've got to a semi.
Yeah.
But that's going to be it.
Yes.
How wrong could that be?
Well, not really. I mean, I'm going to give it to you because you're right. You know, we've been through this so many times, and it's like, it's the semi-final, and it's trying to get that excitement again. But now where we're headed to the final then on Sunday against Spain. And yesterday, England played the best they've played for a long time, not just in this tournament. That first half was just terrific. It looked like the players as they would play in the Premier League. Phil Foden was terrific. He looked so much better than he's looked.
I really wanted Foden to get a goal.
He was really trying.
He was, but there was that shot that he had that just clipped the outside of the post.
I felt for him.
Everybody looked so much better. And then, I mean, I'm saying this, but 7 minutes, the Dutch scored. Now, this is the point when you think, oh, is this going to be, here we go, this is it. But it wasn't. And then England looked so much better. They were quicker, they were more incisive, they were going forward. Then that penalty that Harry Kane managed to get. Now, it's funny because I'm looking at social media.
Yeah.
Some are saying, well, no, if it was anywhere else on the pitch, it would have been a free kick. I think it was a very harsh penalty. I mean, if I was Dutch, I'd be extremely unhappy. And I know that a lot of the Dutch fans and even the players There's even Virgil van Dijk has actually spoken afterwards and said, well, this referee should front up and say the reason he gave it. Because what happened is that Harry Kane had gone to strike the ball and then it was Denzel Dumfries who then, his foot went up, Harry Kane hit the ball and then it was almost the follow-through hit Denzel Dumfries. Now, it was more, I think, that Harry Kane's foot went towards him instead of the other way. But then, out of the blue, it was VAR check, because Harry Kane was still down.
Yes, you weren't even expecting a VAR check, really.
No, absolutely. And the fact that Harry Kane stayed down, who I think was certainly hurt through this, it wasn't one of these, I'm going to roll on the floor and see what I can get, because, you know, this is England, after all, for crying out loud. Right. So they went to check it, and the penalty was given, which was great, and Harry Kane put it away. Played very good the first half. Then there was a little bit of a lull in the second half, wasn't there?
Is that down to... Because there's all this... The talk on the commentary was, well, this was actually a Netherlands tactic.
Yeah.
That they were slowing things down.
Yeah, they made some changes, and Koeman had certainly changed something, and it affected the way that England were going. And for a moment, and I think everybody was... No, we can't have this again. This is going to be another one of the situations. We're going to look like we were before. And then we get right down to the wire. 90th minute. It's the latest goal scored in a semi-final or a final of a major championship. Ollie Watkins had come on for Harry Kane. Now, Gareth Southgate had also taken... I mean, he's taken a lot of stick over this championship, let's be honest. One of those things was substitutions. Making substitutions too late, not making the right substitutions. And he made a very big call, taking off Phil Foden and Harry Kane, replaced them with Cole Palmer and Ollie Watkins. Cole Palmer put the ball to Ollie Watkins, and then this fantastic goal. And it's someone that waited for their moment.
I mean, it shouldn't have gone in. Really, should it? I mean, it was through the legs and then right in the...
But a lot of strikers do that. Aim for the legs. Aim to go through the legs, because then the goalkeeper can't see it. It was just a great goal. I mean, Ollie Watkins spoke afterwards, and obviously for this 28-year-old playing for Aston Villa, I'm going to say it. It was over the moon. There's a football phrase. Let's hear from Ollie Watkins.
Never thought I'd be playing in the Euros for England. Obviously, you can dream, but I'm a realist. I just take day by day, one step at a time, and I was just focusing on, getting back into the first team at Exeter. So, I've not thought about that, but I put in a lot of hard work to get to this point. It's not just this season; it's a cumulative, and I've worked hard to get to this point, and I'm going to enjoy every moment.
See, there's Ollie, and it just proves the hard work. He's one of those professionals. He's come through the ranks. It's kept him grounded, and it's worked out for him. It's just a fantastic story.
Phenomenal.
It really is.
Can you imagine being there last night?
Oh, can you imagine? The big one is obviously going to be on Sunday.
Yeah.
Everybody looking for tickets for Berlin now. I wonder how many England fans actually thought they were going to get there. We did, of course.
Of course we did.
We always believed. Do you reckon Jack did? I reckon Jack Carson believed.
Jack always believed.
Jack always believes. There's Jack. So is it Bochum still just outside Dortmund, right, Jack, where you are at the moment, and then off to Berlin later?
Oh.
Yes, Bochum.
It does give a clue where they're behind you.
For this semi-final, and then on a train for about 4 hours to Berlin later today. I'm sure there will be probably plenty of other England fans on that train as well. I mean, we've already met England fans when we've been out here who have said, nope, we've got tickets to the final already. They got the confidence, they've got the trust. I'm not sure how they got the nerve to spend that kind of money so early on, but yep, already met England fans that are already on their way out to Berlin over the next couple of days. I mean, there will probably most likely be tens of thousands of England fans that make it out there. Of course, it's a Sunday game, it's the weekend, people don't maybe have to take time off work, so yeah, definitely there'll be thousands of England fans probably heading with me towards Berlin later today to try and hopefully watch it come home. But I mean, in Dortmund yesterday, I mean, as we were talking, as you saw, just a sea of orange. It was just Dutch fans. I've never seen so much orange in my life. It was just Dutch fan after Dutch fan. The whole fan zones everywhere in Dortmund were full of Dutch fans, and of course you can imagine, you know, we were trying to find a spot to watch the game, and obviously 7 minutes in, we just hear this roar of noise, and it's like nothing I've ever heard before, and it's the Dutch fans, of course, celebrating, and it's just, yeah, it was just incredible. But England, of course, coming out better on the night, thank God.
And they're the ones that are now as flat as a pancake, Dutch pancake.
Oh, come on, Paul. Is that
best I've got? Best I've got. I'm exhausted after the day. Have a great journey there to Berlin, Jack. We look forward to catching up with you.
On a positive note, Richard... Well, not...
It's all positive.
It's all positive.
It's all positive.
Richard Taylor's been in touch. He said, I love Paul Kite.
God bless him.
If the England team is as enthusiastic as he is on Sunday, we'll win 8-0.
I love him. Thank you very much. I'm enthusiastic. I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be... This could be a truly historic moment. So there's one more thing I'm going to leave you with, and this is painful for me, and that is I'm probably one of the oldest people in this country to have never seen England lift a major trophy. I was born in February '67, so 66, summer of '66. So that makes me one of the oldest never to have seen it. So I'm hoping.
Well, Sunday could be your day.
Sunday's going to be the day for
me. We know what brought you into existence then. Celebrations.
Oh yes,
never thought of that.
Interesting thought. Yeah. And the thing is, I've always said
you could be a World Cup baby.
And you know what? And I've always said I was 34 as well. So that's another thing.
Yeah, no chance. You're talking to Peter Shilton in a bit, aren't you?
Yep. Man has played for England more times than any other. Who better? So we'll speak to him in about 20 minutes.
Brilliant stuff. Paul, thanks very much indeed.
Now to this major story this morning, this developing story. The chief suspect in a triple murder in Hertfordshire has been located by police following an extensive manhunt.
Yeah, it's understood the three murdered women, aged 25, 28 and 61, were two daughters and the wife of the BBC racing commentator John Hunt. The suspect is receiving medical treatment, having been found in a cemetery in Enfield with injuries. No arrests have been made as yet. The investigation remains ongoing.
Well, joining us now live in Enfield is our reporter, Charlie Peters. And Charlie, this is just the most heartbreaking story, isn't it? Bring us up to speed on the developments.
Well, it's a sunny and beautiful morning here in Bushey, but a scar has ripped through this community in Hertfordshire after that triple murder on Tuesday evening, just 36 hours ago here at the scene behind me, where the police are still operating, maintaining a crime scene for continued forensic investigations. Well, the police said yesterday that they understood that the attack was a targeted attack carried out using a crossbow and possibly other weapons. Now, this sparked a significant manhunt with both the Hertfordshire Constabulary and the Metropolitan Police joining forces to search for the key suspect, Kyle Clifford, a 26-year-old veteran of the British Army. And yesterday evening, at around 6 p.m, they located that key suspect near a cemetery in Enfield in North London, in the hilly fields area of Enfield, where he has been detained but not arrested. And as we understand it, the London Ambulance Service has airlifted that suspect to one of London's major trauma hospitals. Now, the police were key to point out that they did not fire a shot yesterday in that process. But as we understand it, armed response units and indeed counter-terrorist specialist firearms officers were involved in that manhunt in Enfield. So a significant operation went into place there. Now, people are reacting further to the horror of what happened here on Tuesday evening, and that police investigation will continue to get to the bottom of why this appalling triple murder has taken place.
Charlie, thanks very much indeed. Now, NATO 2024 comes to a close, with Sir Keir Starmer completing his first trip as PM on the world stage.
Well, the Prime Minister has confirmed the UK's £3 billion a year military aid for Kyiv will continue, and said the visit was an opportunity to recommit to NATO and the special relationship with the United States.
Well, our political editor, Christopher Hope, was in Washington and sent this report.
Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, Freshman's general election victory last Friday, is here in Washington, D.C. for the 75th anniversary meeting of the NATO Defence Organisation. Joe Biden, the US Democratic president, he's chairing it. He met with Sir Keir Starmer yesterday on stage at the NATO summit, and the pair met last night for dinner at the White House and a meeting in the Oval Office, a fireside chat in the Oval Office. No question, Sir Keir Starmer is the guy to meet. We saw a very warm meeting between the French President Emmanuel Macron, who may see Sir Keir Starmer as an antidote to the populism sweeping the continent. But still there's pressure on Sir Keir Starmer. He won't say when the UK will spend £1 billion more on defence, when we might meet that target of hitting 2.5% of our GDP spent on defence, the billions more required by Ukraine, our key ally. He did meet with President Zelensky, the Ukraine leader, yesterday in Washington. That was a warm meeting. We saw David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, and John Healey, the Defence Secretary, both there meeting with him. But otherwise, key issues remain, notably our prisons. Overnight, Sir Keir Starmer has said they will announce very shortly plans to release criminals early, maybe after serving as little as 40% of their terms, or their jail terms. He, as a former chief prosecutor, knows there's real problems in the prisons and the need to take action. He'll try and make sure that only the least dangerous are released early, but there's pressure on Sir Keir Starmer. If any of those prisoners released early commit further crimes, then the heat's back on him. He's got to get planning new prisons quickly. He's blaming the Tory party for now, but that can't go on forever. Christopher Hope, Washington, D.C.
Well, let's talk to former Labour advisor Stella Santakidou, who joins us now. Good to see you this morning, Stella. Good morning. I mean, what do you make of what we're hearing from the Prime Minister on this visit? I mean, when it comes to key elements of defence spending, for example, I mean, it's great. We need to get to that 2.5%. Everyone's saying it, but we're still not getting a date from him. He's still leaving it hanging in the air somewhat.
So what Keir Starmer has said is that next week he will set out a one-year review of the UK's defence capacity, which is a very reasonable step to take, because you would expect any minister who commits more taxpayer money to be able to justify where exactly that money is going and how it is best used. There is a number of priorities. Of course, we know that the government purse is under a lot of pressure, so you would expect him to take a step like that. And it's been quite a long time since the last time the UK did a defence spending review. And currently we're at 2.3%, which is above the 2% NATO target, and 2/3 of NATO countries do not reach that defence spending target. So it's not like the UK has not been committed enough until now. Now, I think that it is something that we would expect from Keir Starmer at this point, but he did have a very, very good week apart from that, because obviously he showed up to the NATO summit just having been completely victorious, and this is why leaders like Macron and Biden would have wanted to be seen, to speak to him, and now he's suddenly the important one, whereas usually it is the US president.
Make of seeing Sir Keir Starmer as a statesman on the world stage for the very first time? We've got some views in on gbnews.com/yours saying they thought he looked quite nervous, that he was slow to shake President Biden's hand, for example. But then when you look at him with President Zelensky of Ukraine, there's a big embrace there, isn't he? He looks very natural. So what were your takes?
I thought he looked to be having a very good week. There were all of these photos of Keir Starmer in the presidential private jet, in the private jet, with all of the journalists following him. Everyone really, really keen to speak to him. Joe Biden said that the UK is the best of allies. He even made a joke about England's soccer victory over the Netherlands being because of the Prime Minister. I think that for the first time, the UK is actually looking a lot more empowered on the international stage, because it has a very united, stable, liberal democracy at the moment, which is a lot more than a lot of the other European countries can say. It's more than Germany or France can say. It's more than the US can say. Remember, we're not yet sure who's going to be the next president in the US. Zelensky has said that he doesn't trust that Donald Trump, if he gets elected, he will support Ukraine in the way that Ukraine needs to be supported right now. And Keir Starmer has made it extremely clear that the change of prime minister doesn't mean that there is going to be a change of government policy. So overall, a good week. Now, I'm not sure he looks nervous to me, but I think this is more the same image that we have seen from Keir Starmer throughout the campaign, which is that he's just a very serious, professional person.
Stella Santakidu, appreciate your take on that. Thanks very much indeed. I think what is quite interesting in a way is what, in terms of NATO and everything else, I mean, the policies aren't changing, are they? I mean, it's steady as she goes. It's following on from what we had before, which is probably a pretty sensible idea, actually, at the moment, especially in what we're doing with Ukraine. There were concerns raised in the paper review about NATO expansion into Ukraine, which actually Labour seems to be pushing for. And that causes some concern as to whether that's a sensible option or is that going to make things worse for Russia? You know, or to poke the bear, to use that phrase.
Well, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay. And at 19 minutes past 7, let's have a check on the weather, shall we, with Aidan McGibbon.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Following the gloomy and wet weather we've seen so far this week, well, it's going to stay largely cloudy today with some showery rain. But for many, it's going to be drier and brighter compared with the last few days. Certainly some brightness coming through for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, a few showers here, but otherwise largely fine. The remnants of the wet weather we've seen during recent days just clearing northeast Scotland through the morning, and brighter skies for the south, where it's going to be relatively warm, 23 or 22 Celsius. But in between, this zone of cloud just sticking about for parts of East and North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England. Showers or longer spells of rain at times. Some sharp showers actually later in the day coming through for the Midlands and East Wales. But for Scotland at least, it is cheering up compared with recent weather. The best of the sunshine, the north and the west of Scotland. 15, 16 Celsius, not particularly hot, but nevertheless feeling pleasant enough in the sun out of the breeze. Northern Ireland likewise, 1 or 2 light showers, otherwise largely fine. But we've got these sharp showers across the Midlands into East Wales that one needs to keep an eye on. They could be fairly heavy and hit around the time of the rush hour. In the far south, largely dry and a clear evening to come before this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain moves up from the continent and just spills into the south coast by the end of the day. That's going to continue overnight. Elsewhere, it's turning drier with some clear spells. It's going to be a fresher night compared with recent nights in the south, but temperatures still at 13 or 14 Celsius at the start of Friday. Friday starts off with a lot of fine weather. Actually, the best of the sunshine this time will be across central and southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, for example, but we'll see a lot of cloud in the south and outbreaks of rain, particularly towards the southeast, and some sharp showers developing towards the far southwest. Otherwise, for many, it is a drier and brighter day. It's not going to feel particularly warm. Temperatures in the high teens.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now it's time for the Great British Giveaway now, and your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. An incredible
£30,000.
Yes, very good. That's his
it's my voiceover
work. Yeah, he's been working on it. It's totally tax-free as well, which means you get the lot to do whatever you like with. So here are all the details you need to be with a chance to win our next big win.
Summer could be a scorcher with your chance to win £30,000 cash, our biggest cash prize to date. It's totally tax-free, which means you get to spend every single penny however you like. What plans would you make with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank account? Take your family on the ultimate holiday, buy that treat that's always seemed out of reach, or just put it in the bank for a later date. However you'd spend it, make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck with that. Very nice too. Still to come, do the children of celebrities get an unfair leg up in life? Well, yeah. Anyway, we're going to debate that next.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
We'll be there.
This is GB News.
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have said stump. You made my argument for me. My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Now, have you ever heard of Buddy Oliver?
No.
No. Well, remember that name because he's a celebrity chef. In fact, he's Jamie Oliver's son. You'll know about Jamie Oliver.
Oh, yes.
Well, this is his son. And he just released his very own cookbook at the tender age of just 13 years old.
So, do celebrity children get an unfair leg up in the world? Or do they have it as hard as the rest of us? That's our debate this morning. Joining us, entertainment reporter Hayley Palmer and CEO of the Theatre School of Scotland and former Apprentice contestant Rhys Donnelly. Good to see you both this morning. So, Hayley, here's a question for you. If it was any other 13-year-old, they wouldn't get a book, would they?
Well, probably not, but I think, look, here's the thing. You get the opportunity if you have a celebrity parent, but you've got to be good, right? I mean, if you look at Roman Kemp, for example, his dad has probably given him a great opportunity. Is he good-looking? Yes. Has he got talent? Yes. Is he a great presenter? Has he had to work hard? Yes. So I think, yes, take the opportunity. But if you're a load of rubbish, it's not going to last for you.
Reese, what do you make of it?
I think that I see this happen every single day. As the CEO of a performing arts school, we can have children tape, audition, go through the rounds to get to that final stage to be told, actually, a producer has decided that their child is going to take this role. It's nepotism at its finest, I believe.
But Roman Kemp has even spoken about being a Nepo baby. He jokes about it all the time, doesn't he? So what do you make of Hayley's point there that it does take pure talent, actually? It's not just about being a Nepo baby.
I do think that Roman Kemp's a very, different situation on that, but in this situation, I think it's fantastic that we are seeing a younger book published. But as I researched it, how many of you know how to make a fish finger sandwich, and how many of you think that it could just be a license to print money from the book publisher?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, Hayley, isn't it? I mean, we keep going back to Roman Kemp because, I mean, everyone knows him and he's really on the rise. But actually, what he's doing is not anything like his father has done. Whereas, I mean, in this case with Buddy Oliver, well, of course, he's just following on exactly from what Jamie's done.
That's a good point, but I actually read an article about Gordon Ramsay, and he actually said, if you want to work in this business, you can get lost, I won't use the actual term he said, to another chef, learn something different and come back with something new to improve the business. So Gordon Ramsay is saying that's not his thing, like he's not going to just give him a step up. And if you actually watch the YouTube channel of Buddy, which I have, because he's got some cute little recipes from my standard of cooking, he's great. And do you know what? Why not give him that step up? And also, sometimes there is a lot of pressure when you have a celebrity parent. Sometimes it's like, oh, because you're this, that means you've got to be this. Yeah. So it can actually go the other way for some people.
Yeah, Hayley, I'm asking this. Then at 13, do you think that's the ripe age for us to be plummeting someone into a book deal? Or do you think that if Buddy really wanted to become a chef, a celebrity chef, then should he maybe wait and, see if that is a real passion? Or do we think that at the moment it's just the publisher that's thought this is a fantastic way to make a few quid?
Yeah, I think if I had a child, Reese, I think if they showed flair, I think I'd be encouraging them. I'm the same as you. I used to run a theatre school, and, if I saw a child that's got great talent with dancing, singing, acting, I'd be like, yeah, let's take you to another school. Let's, take you for that audition. But I think in this case scenario, if you look at Gordon Ramsay, he's very successful. His wife, she writes books. The daughter, Tilly, she's got her own YouTube thing going on. So I think actually at a young age, it is good to encourage them. But I do think they've got to, have a flair for it and have, their own get up and go as well, have their own graft, they've got to have that themselves. I think that's really important.
I think that I absolutely agree that getting the younger workforce out there is fantastic, but I just wonder how many other young aspiring chefs have fantastic recipes that maybe wouldn't be seen or noticed because, this opportunity has been taken by Buddy. Now, I'm not disputing some of the content on there is fantastic, but I do think, for me, it just seems like someone has sought an opportunity to put a book on a shelf and make a few quid.
Yeah, OK. We've got to leave it there. Reese, Hayley, thank you both very much indeed. Good to see you. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say.
Still to come, with England making it to the Euros finals, our sports reporter Paul Coit will bring us all the latest ahead of Sunday's final.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M62 in Cheshire is closed westbound from junction 9 at Winwick to 7 at Rainhill Stoops after an accident. There are long delays towards there. There's also a lane closed eastbound past the scene. On Merseyside, Queen's Drive at Mossley Hill is closed each way for emergency repairs to damage caused by flooding earlier. On the M25 in Kent, there are clockwise queues from junction 4 at Orpington to 5 for the M26 because of road works, with long delays too on the M26 approaching the M25. Also in Kent, the A249 is partly blocked southbound by an accident between the Detling turnoff and junction 7 of the M20 near Maidstone, causing queues. And in Surrey, the A24 remains closed northbound from the Clarks Green roundabout near Ockley to the Knoll roundabout at Leatherhead, with the A243 closed from there to the M25 after a diesel spill on Tuesday.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
She could have said stump. You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Doogie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations from the beautiful city of Belfast.
And right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, Britain's news channel.
All right, sports guru. Paul
That's
Hodge
what
is
I
here.
want to hear.
That's it.
Yes, yes.
Morning. Look, I mean, it's all about the football because, I mean, we are a footballing nation.
We are.
We are now officially and quite rightly in football fever.
Yes, we are.
Ahead of Sunday.
Absolutely.
We could win the Euros.
We could well win the Euros. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves because people in
Are we not?
football are extremely superstitious. So we have to be very, very careful. I've known many football... Actually, you know what? We've got a man that played for England more times than anybody else. 125 caps from England from 1970 right through to Italia 90. Peter, I could go on for a very long time with the CV, but I'll just say the greatest goalkeeper to play for the country, Peter Shilton. Morning, Peter.
Good morning, Paul.
Great to see you. Were you superstitious, by the way? I bet you were, weren't you?
No, I wasn't at all. No,
Oh,
I think the only thing I did was I used to have a cap and gloves in a bag, put it in the back of the goal, and then just before they kicked off, I used to go and touch it and make sure it was in the right place. Just a silly thing like that. But no, yeah, I believe you get what you deserve in football, and obviously last night was fantastic, wasn't it? I mean, so pleased for Gareth really because he's had some criticism. I believe said at the beginning we could go all the way. You know, it's been a little bit of a rocky road until last night, and I think, you know, he was proven right. You know, I thought it was a great team effort, and we had that bit of luck and got the goal at the exact time.
Peter, it has begun to come together. You know, I'm touching wood all the time. I'm being superstitious here. Don't want to jinx anything, but did you believe all along when you saw those first games in qualifying and were thinking, you know what, it just doesn't seem to be working, whereas, and people were upset with Gareth. So how did you feel about it early on?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely weren't playing at our best, you know, but I mean, I've had that in tournaments, you know, you kind of build into it. You know, I don't know why it is. Maybe the pressure, maybe the league table type things early on, teams tend to not want to get beat, so they're a little bit more cautious. It's a bit harder to break teams down. But when you get to this knockout stage, teams have to go for it.
Yep.
And I thought last night in the first half was our best performance. You know, I thought we played really well. And, you know, we're a bit unlucky to go a goal down. And then we had that bit of luck you need with the penalty. It could have gone either way. And,
What do you think, by the way? Was it or wasn't it? Honestly, Peter.
Personally, I think it was doubtful. You know, I think a defender's got to go for the ball.
But who cares?
And it wasn't a reckless challenge, you know. But who cares? You know,
absolutely.
We've had plenty of games where it's gone against us, and Kane kept his cool as he always did. It was a brilliant penalty because the keeper nearly got to it. And yeah, fantastic. I thought the second half we were a bit laboured and they were taking charge of it. And then, of course, you know, Gareth has been criticised for his substitutions, and you know, he basically proved everybody wrong by bringing on Palmer and Watkins, who combined for what was a brilliant goal.
Absolutely. So we're heading towards the final now. I was likening, actually, this to when you were playing in Italia 90, and I remember David Platt's goal against Belgium, whereas you were at the other end at the time, and it was almost like that pushed us on. It was the confidence seemed to come after that. I felt that way about the penalties the other day, that something has sparked the team. Is that fair to say that something may happen, it's like a catalyst in the game, will then move the team on from there?
Yes, but you're spot on, Paul. Spot on. I mean, it just seems to, you know, ignite the team. You know, you think, crikey, you know, we've managed to, you know, get a last-minute goal, and what a goal it was by David Platt. And yeah, you do. The buzz starts coming in. Maybe we can do it. Maybe it's going our way. And I'm sure the lads this morning will wake up and just feel elated that, you know, they're in the final. Obviously, that's a fantastic achievement. But they will want to go on and win it. And it's going to be tough because Spain are, you know, they're a very, very good side. But if we do beat Spain, then, you know, you've got to hold your hands up and say, you know, it's a fantastic achievement.
We would never probably, even if we'd gone back like 3 or 4 days and thinking, oh, Spain, especially the way we've seen them play, oh, we don't have to play them. But now I think there's a lot of confidence amongst fans, amongst everybody in the country. Can we beat Spain on Sunday, and will we beat Spain on Sunday, Peter? Keep your fingers crossed as you say it.
Yeah, I'm not going to change my mind. You know, I said that we could win it, and I still think that, you know, a one-off game, you know, in a final, it's who turns up on the day. You need that bit of luck, you know, that bit of magic at the right time. And we're capable of doing that. You know, they've got obviously, you know, a few young players in their side as well. I think we'll be slight underdogs, but having said that, that's probably a good thing, you know, to go in having got in the final. The pressure will be off the lads to a certain degree, although the whole country really want the trophy back. So that's going to be the big thing. You know, they'll want to win it, and it's going to be tough. But, you know, one-off games, finals can go either way.
We've got a great side. They've got a good side. It's going to be a hell of a final. Peter, enjoy it. Thank you so much for your time. Always an honour and a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure,
Thank you very
Paul.
much. The great Peter Shilton. 125 games.
I always find it amazing when people I mean, he's a legend, that man. And yet, how humble, down-to-earth, lovely.
Nice guy.
I know.
Is that the sort of fella you could go for a pint with?
Absolutely. Do you reckon he'd go for a pint with us?
Yeah.
I'd love that.
Come on, Peter.
Yeah, Peter.
On Sunday?
You're free. Yeah. Actually,
he could host us.
Paul will pay.
Well, actually, what we're doing, Peter, if you're there, we're going to Stephen's place and we're going to watch the game there. So if you want to come in, he'll provide the beers and we'll have a lovely time.
You're going to do a snacky tea, aren't you?
Snacky tea, Peter.
And anybody else that's there, anybody else that wants to come.
Peter Shilton, you will be very welcome to Dixon Towers.
And we'll have a kick around at half-time in the back garden.
You could do with a dog.
Put Rex in goal.
Come on.
Oh, God.
That'd be amazing.
I reckon he'd be up for it.
Yeah, I'm up for that, Peter. I know where Peter lives, but Peter, you're welcome along.
Well, still to come, do stay with us. It is The Papers with Lynn May and Alan Miller. That's next.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In World War I, 309 men from Britain and the Commonwealth never came home. because they'd been shot at dawn. The majority were killed for desertion, cowardice and sleeping at post. Appearing at their court-martials and told they'd brought shame on their country, these men had no opportunity to defend themselves and were executed by a firing squad. The National Memorial Arboretum launched a fundraising campaign to restore the memorial, which has stood for more than 20 years.
Thank you to your viewers for their support for the fundraising campaign, and thanks to the generosity of so many people, we've been able to replace all 309 of the posts that represent those young men that were shot in the First World War. Restoration of this really precious memorial.
The centrepiece of the memorial is the young soldier, blindfolded and facing his execution.
In September 1916, Private Harry Farr was ordered to the front. Already suffering from shell shock, he was overwhelmed and refused his orders. He was court-martialed, and in a trial lasting only 20 minutes, he was sentenced to death. On the day of his execution, he faced the firing squad without a blindfold.
Janet Booth is Private Farr's granddaughter and was part of the public campaign to have those who were shot at dawn officially pardoned.
When I asked my gran, do you know where I could find Harry's grave? And she looked at my mother and there was this sort of look between them, and then she said, well, he hasn't got a grave because they didn't warrant, he deserved one because he was shot as a coward and had let his country down. We can come here as a family and pay our respects to him, and also for all the other families, it's somewhere to come and remember their loved ones.
The People's Channel.
Farage Nigel Paul, Reform UK, 21,225.
Believe me, folks, this is just the first step of something that is going to stun all of you.
This Monday at 7 p.m, GB News welcomes the return of Nigel Farage, MP, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Time for the papers this morning. Political commentator Lynn May and co-founder of the Together Association, Alan Miller, are both here. Jonathan Taylor's joining the party as well, online. Morning, Jonathan, who says the party's at Stephen's on Sunday night for the football. Where do you live, Stephen? Not telling you.
Exclusive invite only.
But Peter Shilton was nodding his head to that invite. So Peter Shilton is coming to the party. So there you go.
Picky bits in the garden. Should we start with the Telegraph?
Let's.
Alan, this is half of grassroots Tory voters would back a Reform merger.
It's interesting, yeah. 47% have said that they would back the merging of Reform with the Conservatives. I don't think that's particularly surprising. If you look at Reform, many of the things that they're saying are things that previous Conservative voters and obviously some Red Wall Labour voters would have a lot of sympathy with and believe in. But I think what's interesting about this is that now it's a new moment, because we've seen a situation where millions of people have voted in a very short period of time, a snap election, where, you know, and as frankly, if Reform had got the same kind of votes, if you look, they got more votes than the Lib Dems, who got 3.5 million votes, 12%. They got 14%. They only got 5 candidates, now 6 with Jim Allister, the TUV. But Lib Dems got 71. We know the Conservatives got 120 seats with just 6 million votes. So I think many people who didn't vote, nearly 50% this time round, will be looking at this and thinking, perhaps we can have an impact, actually, because so many people have been disillusioned that, you know, you vote, it's the same two parties, often they share a lot of ideas. So I'm not sure there's going to be that much pressure on Reform to do that. Why would you? As they say, they've got a bridgehead now in Parliament, which their goal is to impact these questions, to be a real opposition, because we should remember that during the last few years, you know, the so-called opposition often agreed with the government and often encouraged it to go further, like around lockdowns and other measures. So whilst I can understand that there are a lot of members and those around the Conservative voters would like this, I think that there's a new moment, like we're seeing in Europe, actually. They call it populism, like we've seen in America, but actually where a lot of people feel like they haven't been listened to, they haven't been addressed, they haven't been engaged with. People call people names who are concerned about certain things, whether they're cultural, whether they're to do with control of borders, things that used to be seen as common sense by everyone.
Yeah.
And now those issues are all up for grabs and being done, and I don't think that there'll be that kind of incentive for reform to do it.
Yeah, I don't think reform should. I think formerly the Brexit Party, they learnt their lesson. They kind of bowed to the Conservatives when it came to Brexit and said, you know what, David Cameron, do your thing, we'll sit back. And I don't think they're going to do it this time. And I think if they allow themselves to be joined to the Conservatives, they will lose that credibility, because clearly the Conservatives have not learnt their lesson. The way that people came out and voted for the Brexit Party, you would have thought that they would have taken those original Conservative values and ran with it, and they haven't. So, yeah, I understand why the voters would think that, but and want that. I don't think they should. I think reform should really, like they have been, start from the grassroots levels and build their way up as a true opposition.
Essentially, Gary's been in touch. Why do Reform need to join the Tories? Tories who want to make an impact should join Reform.
Yes.
Mary says Reform will not join the Tories. Nigel has 5 years to build Reform, and he will. Michelle says it shouldn't happen. So, I mean...
They're refreshing. I think they're
Reform
refreshing.
supporters don't want it.
And I think the thing is, it's been a remarkable success in a short period of time. And I also think that the British public are going to want to have a say, and there should be a referendum now on proportional representation. One person, one vote. Let's put it to the public. Let's see how that plays out, because people are concerned. There's a lack of trust and a conviction around democracy and these values. And this would be a good way...
We're bored of the two-party system. We're bored of it.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
Well, we're not going to get a vote on that. I mean, that's the bottom line. Labour have made that quite clear. They don't want to do it.
Of course they have.
Well, of course, yeah. Can we have a look at empathy, Lynn, in the Mail?
Yes. So a research by the University of Cambridge essentially found that this use of AI, especially amongst young people, is lacking that empathetic touch, that human touch of communication. And we're seeing more children turn to these sorts of AI instructors or assistants online, whether it's, you know, to find makeup ideas or to find toys or whatever. However, the guidance is not considering what that child may need. And to me, I think this is quite sad that even though it's fantastic, we're moving to technology more, children are becoming more proficient, we're going to keep on using more technology. However, I don't think young children should have to go to their phone for advice that you would communicate from your parents. And that's why you are losing that human element. You know, there is a breakdown in the family at the moment when it comes to meals, when it comes to, you know, chats after school. Everyone trolls off into their separate parts of the house on their phones. Where's those conversations? And it's bonding time with family. So you can't expect a computer, as much as we try, to emulate what our human emotions are.
I'll tell you what is difficult, though, because it's Pandora's box, and we need to develop technology and we need to be adept at using it. But it's how you get that balance right, and that's where we're failing at the moment.
Well, you can be a technophobe or a technophile, and I think it's important to have judgment and execute that, because we've often had these discussions around technology. If people remember the fears of the cinema, the idea that the masses would somehow be transformed, the War of the Worlds, and everyone's going to go out and do things. So there's often been a concern about that. Obviously, with children, it takes a different form because they're not adults. And I think
it's affecting brain development.
It is. And I think that us, for them, for instance, have done some very good campaigning work where they, for instance, have said smartphones should not be in schools, particularly primary schools, but secondary schools as well. And we saw some legislation being implemented around that. It is up to parents. I think it's really important that parents are able to intervene, but also that us as adults in society support that. The idea that adults can make good judgments and decisions and take responsibility.
I don't think it's just children,
too
though.
often,
do you know that? I don't. Do you know the reason why? It's because I'll go to a restaurant and I'll see couples after couples. You've gone out for a meal and you're both like that for more than 10 minutes. These things are fantastic, but they're supposed to be an aid to assist us with work, an aid to assist us with communication where it's not sometimes possible. I'm sitting in front of you. It's possible to put this down and communicate properly. And there is a breakdown now of when you see young people going into teenagers and young adults, if you try and have a normal conversation with them, they're like one-word answers and everything's here.
Well, that's why technology in and of itself is not inherently evil or positive, right? It has the potential to do things. It's what we do around values and our claims around virtue and encouraging things in terms terms of the moral sphere, the ethical sphere. A lot of those arguments have gone away. We need to introduce them in a way that people can make choices and decisions and have scrutiny about it. So I think that's what's important around it.
Yeah.
Look, we've got 2 minutes left of this hour. Alan, let's talk about the small boats challenge for Starmer. The weather hasn't been great, but hopefully it does pick up, and we always know what that means. Good weather means more small boats across the channel.
Yeah, well, you know, more than 400 migrants crossed the channel on Tuesday, even in spite of all the weather that's going on. It's an enormous challenge for Keir Starmer. Let's be honest, he's come into this, but it needs to be addressed. I'm not sure that his talking about tackling gangs like he talked about tackling gangs in the UK is going to address this issue. I think the question is much more profound and significant than that. It's about how we actually work with France, what France is instructed to do, how we actually make that. Remember, we're giving an enormous amount of money to France for them to chaperone people coming over. It's around what the Home Office does. It's around the fact that we need to implement measures and not have a civil service that challenges it. And it looks like on many of the issues, they're not able to do that. Now, of course, we've seen Tony Blair say, well, let's have immigration, let's have digital ID cards, that old clangor. No, it's not quite clear how that would ever resolve any of these issues around migration. So it remains to be seen how serious Keir Starmer is about actually addressing this, but it's an enormous challenge that they've got.
Yeah, just in 10 seconds, Lynn.
I would agree. And I think as the weather gets better, we're going to see more people come in, and you're going to see slowly that Labour potentially wasn't the best for the job.
Well, time will tell on that one.
It will.
You know, and then we can judge. We need to judge on actions and not just words on this one, don't we? And so the next few weeks will be crucial. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you. And talking about the weather, let's get a glimpse of it now with Aidan McGibbon.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Following the gloomy and wet weather we've seen so far this week, well, it's going to stay largely cloudy today with some showery rain. But for many, it's going to be drier and brighter compared with the last few days. Certainly some brightness coming through for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland. A few showers here, but otherwise largely fine. The remnants of the wet weather we've seen during recent days just clearing northeast Scotland through the morning. And brighter skies for the south, where it's going to be relatively warm, 23 or 22 Celsius. But in between, this zone of cloud just sticking about for parts of East and North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England. Showers or longer spells of rain at times. Some sharp showers actually later in the day coming through for the Midlands and East Wales. But for Scotland, at least, it is cheering up compared with recent weather. The best of the sunshine, the north and the west of Scotland. 15, 16 Celsius, not particularly hot, but nevertheless feeling pleasant enough in the sun out of the breeze. Northern Ireland, likewise, 1 or 2 light showers, otherwise largely fine. But we've got these sharp showers across the Midlands into East Wales that one needs to keep an eye on. They could be fairly heavy and hit around the time of the rush hour. In the far south, largely dry and a clear evening to come before this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain moves up from the continent and just spills into the south coast by the end of the day. That's going to continue overnight. So elsewhere, it's turning drier with some clear spells. It's going to be a fresher night compared with recent nights in the south, but temperatures still at 13 or 14 Celsius at the start of Friday. Friday starts off with a lot of fine weather. Actually, the best of the sunshine this time will be across central and southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, for example, but we'll see a lot of cloud in the south and outbreaks of rain, particularly towards the southeast, and some sharp showers developing towards the far southwest. Otherwise, for many, it is a drier and brighter day. It's not going to feel particularly warm. Temperatures in the high teens.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M62 in Cheshire is closed westbound from junction 9 at Winwick to 7 at Rainhill Stoops after an accident. There are long delays towards the closure, and as you divert on Merseyside, Queen's Drive at Mossley Hill is closed each way for emergency repairs to damage caused by flooding earlier. On the M25 in Essex, there are anti-clockwise delays from junction 29 for the A127 to 28 for the A12 because of roadworks. Clockwise through Kent, there are delays from junction 4 at Orpington to 5 M25, with queues on the M26 approaching the M25 there. Also because of roadworks. Now, also in Kent, the A249 is partly blocked southbound by an accident between the Detling turn-off and junction 7 of the M20 at Maidstone, causing queues. And in Surrey, the A24 remains closed northbound from Ockley to Leatherhead after a diesel spill on Tuesday. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Summer could be a scorcher, with your chance to win £30,000 cash, our biggest cash prize to date. It's totally tax-free, which means you get to spend every single penny however you like. What plans would you make with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank account? Take your family on the ultimate holiday, buy that treat that's always seemed out of reach, or just put it in the bank for a later date. However you'd spend it, make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Is football really coming home?
Well, the Three Lions roar to victory in the semi-final of the Euros, beating the Netherlands 2-1 in a nail-biting match.
Well, Ollie Watkins clinched the winner in the 90th minute.
Lost for words, really. When you score, there's emotions that come through your body, but this is just a different feeling. It was slow motion when I was running over to the boys and celebrating.
It means England will face Spain in the final this Sunday.
Well, football fans around the country celebrated all night long following that victory in Dortmund.
To be honest, I didn't really think we had it, but we've got it, we've done it. Last minute again. Come on, England, come on!
Well, I was exactly the same. England are in their third major final now and the first ever on foreign soil. And as Ellie said, now take on Spain in the Euro 24 final, and it happens 8 p.m. this Sunday.
Well, in other news this morning, a dramatic manhunt ends after a triple murder suspect is airlifted from a North London cemetery.
Starmer the statesman, the Prime Minister, reaffirms the country's special relationship with the US as he concludes his first ever NATO summit in Washington.
The son of celebrity chef Jamie Oliver releases a cookbook at the age of 13. Is that someone getting an unfair advantage?
No signs of a heat wave anytime soon, but following the gloomier wet start to the week, I do at least have news of something a little drier and brighter for many of us. Coming up shortly in the forecast.
Just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I tell you who was getting very excited, Paul Coit, about the football. I'll throw to this, first of all, to get it sort of out of the way, but it's quite sweet.
Yeah.
Politics aside. President Biden.
No.
Yes.
Really?
He was asked about it by our very own Christopher Hope. got the first question in.
OK.
About the football, which you wouldn't... I thought that was a brave move.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't necessarily have expected a particularly good response.
Did he say football or did he say soccer?
Soccer.
Oh, he did say soccer.
He did say, because obviously to avoid the confusion.
Of course.
Anyway, have a look at this.
Towards the soccer, Mr. President. Towards the soccer.
By the way I heard.
It's good news.
Good news is right. I tell you what, that's all because of the Prime Minister.
I lost the game up to the Labour government. Is football coming home, Prime Minister? It looks like it.
There you go. I mean, you put it all on Keir Starmer, which I don't think is accurate.
Yes.
But nevertheless, I thought that was quite nice.
Yeah, there's been a change, though, hasn't there? Not only in government, but also in the way that England have been playing in the past week. It started off at the Euros, and I know there's a lot of people that have given Gareth Southgate a hard time, and a lot of the criticism, I think, is justified.
Yeah.
You know, it's what I can talk about. Gary Lineker, I could talk about people that are on TV that were very critical, but that's their job, and it was justified because England weren't very good. But last night, things were different. It really has started to change. It's momentum. They played against the Netherlands yesterday. Last night, and there was the goal. Netherlands scored early. Then we got a penalty, which was questionable. Did you think? What did you think?
Yeah, well, yes. But you see, I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know whether to just go, well, it worked in our favour, so what's it matter?
Don't care.
We got a goal, don't care. Or whether you should go, oh, did we really win?
We were the dominant side, definitely, weren't we?
We were.
In the first half.
There's luck that we haven't had over the years. If we go back, we spoke to Peter Shilton earlier. Back in 1990, we had luck go against us. We've had it in 96 against the Germans when we were like an inch away from scoring. It's just there's so many tales of bad luck for the England side over the years. OK, you know, you can't blame everything on bad luck, but it never seems to have gone with us. We deserved a little bit of luck. And if you are going to win a competition, it doesn't matter what sport it's in, you need to have the luck go with you, along with everything else that goes with it. And we got a stroke of luck yesterday.
We did.
So I know this. I'm even having arguments with people on social media. Oh, it was definitely a penalty. Definitely a penalty. OK, whatever. You know, it really doesn't matter. We got the penalty. It was given, and we went on to win. Yeah. And Ollie Watkins as well in that 90th minute as well.
It's superb. I mean, absolutely superb for someone who's doesn't get that many run-outs, does he? I mean, he's
right.
He's a comparative to a lot of us, at least who aren't football fanatics, is a new name.
There's a thing in rugby. Well, there's a thing in rugby where they have starters and finishers instead of saying substitutes, and it started with Eddie Jones. Starters and finishers, and it's almost like in football that worked with Ollie Watkins because he is a fantastic footballer and played so well for Aston Villa. But he hasn't got those starts, so he's waited his time. And he's waited, and then it was almost like, because we mentioned he manifested it, didn't he?
Yeah.
We'd heard from him, and he'd said that it was him and Cole Palmer were coming on. And this was a big call from Gareth Southgate. This is Harry Kane coming off, Phil Foden coming off, two superstars of football, made the decision, and then it was Cole Palmer that laid the ball off, and then we got the goal straight after that.
Phenomenal.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was unbelievable, actually. It made those 2 minutes of extra time almost unbearable. Absolutely unbearable.
It was. And then substitutes were made, and then you think, oh, this is dragging on and on. But it was fine. You know, it felt good. I thought I was comfortable in those extra couple of minutes. I know it's always murder, but I felt comfortable.
Explain something for me, because I couldn't work it out last night in our house, because there was 2 minutes of extra time. But the goal was scored at 90 minutes, or just bang on 90 minutes. So when did the 2 minutes start? Because the game actually went on till about 96.
It's a minimum. So what that is, that's 2 minutes that are made up from what was lost in that half. So then, if there's any substitutions that are made after 90, then that will be added on as well. So it's a minimum of 2 minutes will be added on. Right. So then anything else that happens, so then that will be added on to it as well.
Sat there thinking,
just prolong the agony.
We were just sat there thinking, please blow the whistle. Just blow the whistle.
Please blow the whistle. Should we hear from Gareth Southgate?
Oh, yeah.
I think we should. He's been vindicated so far. He's had a lot of critics, but he spoke yesterday and he's obviously a very happy man.
It shows the more modern England way. But also the resilience and the character of the group, because Ollie Watkins has trained like that every day. and he's been ready for his moment, no matter how frustrated he might have been at not playing. He's been ready, and the whole group have been.
There are moments that change your life. And when that ball dropped to Ollie Watkins, I don't know whether it's just that striker's intuition was just hit it, whatever, but there are moments that change lives. And for Ollie Watkins, that was one of those moments.
Yeah.
It was a very, very exciting moment. And it's almost slow motion. The moment it leaves his foot, heads in, it was a great goal. It was a great goal. So now we've got a huge game. Final on Sunday.
We do. What's going to happen between now and then? Before Sunday, what's going to be going on in
Well,
camp?
they'll be resting today. They're going to have a rest day. They'll warm down. They'll do very light training. They might do a little bit more, possibly on Friday. Then Saturday will be less. But I think it's more mental than
it's mental prep, isn't it?
And that's the thing that Gareth Southgate's been so good at. And this is what we noticed about the penalties, when the penalty situation against Switzerland. It was mentally how good England were. And everything was planned, even from the moment of, you think it's just a player that's picking up a ball and going up. No, they speak to someone, another player will go up with them so far, then they put the ball down, then they take a breath. So everything's been taken care of, and they looked so confident. And there's more preparation for penalties I think we've ever seen before, because penalties have never been the greatest thing for us.
Yeah.
Jack Carson is just outside Dortmund, was amongst everything. Was it a sea of orange, wasn't it, Jack, you were involved in?
I mean, there was well over. I mean, we said, hadn't we, before the game, and we were talking about it, around 8.
Oh, we're going to have to leave.
Oh, we're losing
Jack,
him.
we're leaving you. We're leaving you already just because the sound's a bit dodgy on your line.
Well, it looks like a beautiful day, though, doesn't it?
Does.
There's not many orange around this time.
Yeah.
You look great, Jack. We just can't speak to you because we're just jealous of the fact he's there enjoying the... The atmosphere there must be fantastic, actually.
Oh, they were saying about 100,000 Dutch fans that were there.
They were
Probably
very
about
loud
40.
last night.
They were very loud.
The sea of orange is quite intimidating, actually, isn't it? I think it's just such a bright, forceful colour.
Yeah,
and they were loud.
You've seen them. And then there was the road where they're all moving side to side. Well, I mean, whatever. Who cares? They're out. They're on their way home. They're going back to Amsterdam now with the tail between their legs. That's the end of it.
Sunday...
Yes.
Who are we going to see go? And I don't mean in the team. I'm not talking about team level. Prince William, right, has been to 2 matches so far. He's got to go, surely. What about the King? Because
that would be good.
The King sent a message last night saying, my wife and I join all our family in wishing you the warmest congratulations on reaching the final of the European Championship.
Yes.
And sending our very best wishes for Sunday's match. If I may encourage you to secure victory before the need for any last-minute wonder goals or another penalties drama, I'm sure the stresses on the nation's collective heart rate and blood pressure would be greatly alleviated.
Well, I've heard rumours about, and this happens because things have to be planned before big tournaments. So let's say, for example, England win on Sunday. You've got to plan a bus tour.
Yeah.
You've got to go around. Everything has to be planned, and then there would be a meeting with the King at Buckingham Palace. So all these things have to be thought about well in advance. So I'm not going to put the mockers on it or say anything, but these always have to be planned, and they have been many years in the past. So if it gets to the point England have been knocked out, scrap the plans, it's not going to happen. But they have to be done secretly, so I expect that there will be plans prepared for the opportunity that if we do win it, then there will be a tour around London, and then they will meet the King. So I don't imagine the King will go, but I imagine should we win, then there'll be a trip to Buckingham Palace on Monday.
Do you think we'd get a bank holiday?
No. I think so, Ellie. That's the most important thing of all. Do we get time off? The answer is 6 weeks off for everybody at full pay.
That would be good.
How about that?
Yeah, we don't want a bank holiday because we'll end up working.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
We'll still be here anyway.
Listen, let's not count our chickens. We've got a huge game.
Yeah, we have.
The Spanish are an amazing
time.
side, but we can win this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the positivity.
Anyway,
this is
we've got to stop talking because our producer's blowing the whistle.
I know. I know. I can hear it in my ear.
No extra time for us.
What's the word? Will you shut up quite? That was what it was.
That was. Yeah. We'll see you in about 10 minutes.
Trevor Stephen, former England player, joins us.
Brilliant. Yep. Fantastic.
Thank you, Paul Coit. Now to another major story today. The chief suspect in a triple murder in Hertfordshire has been located by police following an extensive manhunt.
Well, it's understood the 3 murdered women, 25, 28 and 61, were 2 daughters and the wife of the BBC racing commentator John Hunt. The suspect, we believe, is getting medical treatment after being found in a cemetery in Enfield with injuries. No arrests have been made as yet. The investigation is ongoing.
Well, joining us now live in Enfield is the reporter Charlie Peters. Charlie, this is just the most heartbreaking story, isn't it? And it gets worse almost the more details that you hear as we understand them. Bring us up to speed on the latest developments.
I'm actually here in Bushey, where there's been a handover of the police cordon, a change from the overnight service to the daytime as they continue their work here at the crime scene where this triple murder took place on Tuesday evening. Forensics continuing to operate here as the major crime units continue their investigation. And it comes after last night the chief suspect, the only suspect in this case, was detained in a cemetery in Enfield, a few miles to the east of this location in North London, where we saw armed response vehicles and even counter-terrorism specialist firearm officers and paramedics swoop into a cemetery in the Hilly Fields area of Enfield in North London. Now, it's understood that the attack that took place at 7 p.m. here in the house behind me on Tuesday evening involved a crossbow and other weapons. Now, in reaction to the news of the use of a crossbow, we understand that Home Secretary Yvette Cooper is calling for an urgent review of the previous government's findings that it called on to look into the legislation surrounding crossbows and their access and their legal status. This has been an ongoing issue. There have been several incidents involving crossbows this year, and this latest devastating murder described as horrific by many people in this local community.
OK, Charlie, for now, thank you. Now, NATO 2024 is coming to a close, with Sir Keir Starmer completing his first trip as PM on the world stage.
Well, the Prime Minister has confirmed the UK's £3 billion a year military aid for Kyiv will continue and said the visit was an opportunity to recommit to NATO and to the special relationship with the United States.
Well, our political editor, Christopher Hope, was in Washington, D.C. and sent this report.
Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, fresh from his general election victory last Friday, is here in Washington, D.C. for the 75th anniversary meeting of the NATO Defence Organisation. Joe Biden, the US Democratic President, he's chairing it. He met with Sir Keir Starmer yesterday on stage at the NATO summit, and the pair met last night for dinner at the White House and a meeting in the Oval Office, a fireside chat in the Oval Office. No question, Sir Keir Starmer is the guy to meet. We saw a very warm meeting between the French President Emmanuel Macron, who may see Sir Keir Starmer as an antidote to populism sweeping the continent. But still there's pressure on Sir Keir Starmer. He won't say when the UK will spend £1 billion more on defence, when we might meet that target of hitting 2.5% of our GDP spent on defence, the billions more required by Ukraine, our key ally. He did meet with President Zelensky, the Ukraine leader, yesterday in Washington. That was a warm meeting. We saw David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, and John Healey, the Defence Secretary, both there meeting with him. But otherwise, key issues remain, notably our prisons. Overnight, Sir Keir Starmer has said they will announce very shortly plans to release criminals early, maybe after serving as little as 40% of their terms or their jail terms. He, as a former chief prosecutor, knows there's real problems in the prisons and the need to take action. He'll try and make sure that only the least dangerous are released early, but there's pressure on Sir Keir Starmer. If any of those prisoners are released early commit further crimes, then the heat's back on him. He's got to get planning new prisons quickly. He's blaming the Tory party for now, but that can't go on forever. Christopher Hope, Washington, D.C.
Well, joining us now is GB News political correspondent Olivia Utley, who is live for us in Westminster. Very good morning to you, Olivia. And it was our first glimpse, wasn't it, of Sir Keir Starmer as a statesman on the world stage. How do you think the summit's gone for him?
Well, once again, it felt as though Keir Starmer's ducks fell into a row. Before the general election, Keir Starmer got lucky over and over again. The SNP imploded, the Conservatives tore themselves apart. And this time round, he's on the world stage for the first time talking to President Biden, and England manages to get to the finals of the Euro. So most of the lobby journalists who were there weren't asking searching questions about defence spending for Britain. They were asking for the Prime Minister and the President's reaction to the Euro victory. So overall, it went pretty well. Biden and Starmer seemed to get on well. Biden even said, jokingly, of course, that the football victory was down to the new Prime Minister. Biden also sort of sounded as though he was endorsing Britain having closer ties with the European Union. He said that Britain is the knot that ties the States and the European Union together, which will give sort of more wind to Keir Starmer's sails. Overall, I would say it went pretty well for him. He's also been able to double down on the promise that he made after the election that there would be no change to Britain's support for Ukraine with this change of government. So pretty successful all round with a healthy dose of luck.
Yes, it's, you sort of, I can't help but wonder whether he'd forgotten we'd left the EU. Possibly with that comment. It's not overly helpful, is it, to a lot of people over here? Can I ask you about Ofwat? We've had some news from Ofwat this morning about our water bills, haven't we?
We have. Ofwat is saying that water bills are going to rise by, I think it's £94 per household over the next year. Steve Reed, the new DEFRA secretary, is hauling in the heads of the 16 main water companies to talk to them about how this funding is going to work. These water companies have said that they need more money to invest in the dilapidated sewage systems, which, of course, is true. We know that sewage is being leaked out in lakes, rivers, across the country. But Steve Reed and the Labour government in general is worried that this money will end up lining the pockets of shareholders rather than actually being reinvested into these water companies. He's going to publish some sort of manifesto over the coming weeks. It'll be fascinating to see if Labour has a better time sorting out the water companies than the Conservatives have, because it's not a pretty picture at the moment.
No, indeed not. All right, Olivia, thanks very much indeed. It's stuff like this where we'll see what they can do, isn't it, frankly? I mean, I know a lot of you aren't happy and you don't like the fact that there's plenty of messages through saying, well, you know, he's been on the world stage, but it doesn't mean anything. But actually, it does. The optics are good, and it's good for our international reputation because he's seen as a leader with a lot of support at the moment and with a huge majority in the House of Commons. But actually, what really matters now, with these problems that we've all faced over the last few years, what are they going to do about it?
It's about action rather than words, isn't it?
It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, let's see what action they take. Do keep those views coming in. gbnews.com/your say. At 19 minutes past 8, let's take a look at the weather, shall we, with Aidan McGibbon.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Following the gloomy and wet weather we've seen so far this week, well, it's going to stay largely cloudy today with some showery rain, but for many it's going to be drier and brighter compared with the last few days. Certainly some brightness coming through for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, a few showers here, but otherwise largely fine. The remnants of the wet weather we've seen during recent days just clearing northeast Scotland through the morning, and brighter skies for the south, where it's going to be relatively warm, 23 or 22 Celsius. But in between, this zone of cloud just sticking about for parts of East and North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England. Showers or longer spells of rain at times. Some sharp showers actually later in the day coming through for the Midlands and East Wales. But for Scotland at least, it is cheering up compared with recent weather. The best of the sunshine, the north and the west of Scotland. 15, 16 Celsius, not particularly hot, but nevertheless feeling pleasant enough in the sun out of the breeze. Northern Ireland likewise, 1 or 2 light showers, otherwise largely fine. But we've got these sharp showers across the Midlands into East Wales that one needs to keep an eye on. They could be fairly heavy and hit around the time of the rush hour. In the far south, largely dry and a clear evening to come before this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain moves up from the continent and just spills into the south coast by the end of the day. That's going to continue overnight. So elsewhere, it's turning drier with some clear spells. It's going to be a fresher night compared with recent nights in the south, but temperatures still at 13 or 14 Celsius at the start of Friday. Friday starts off with a lot of fine weather. Actually, the best of the sunshine this time will be across central and southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, for example, but We'll see a lot of cloud in the south and outbreaks of rain, particularly towards the southeast, and some sharp showers developing towards the far southwest. Otherwise, for many, it is a drier and brighter day. It's not going to feel particularly warm. Temperatures in the high teens.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now it's time for the Great British Giveaway and your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. An incredible
£30,000.
And it's totally tax-free, which means you get the lot to do whatever you like with. Here are all the details that you need for your chance to become our next big winner.
Summer could be a scorcher, with your chance to win £30,000 cash, our biggest cash prize to date. It's totally tax-free, which means you get to spend every single penny however you like. What plans would you make with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank account? Take your family on the ultimate holiday, buy that treat that's always seemed out of reach, or just put it in the bank for a later date. However you'd spend it, make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, best of luck to you on that one. Feel free to share.
With us, please.
Yes. Tell you what I need a new computer.
Oh, do you?
This one's...
Oh, you've been looking for one for a while now.
Ages. He's
been in the market for one for a while.
I just can't afford one.
No.
Got to be careful with the pennies, can't afford one. So, you win 30 grand. So
and you can't enter the giveaway, so...
No, but I did buy a lottery ticket last night in the vain hope I could afford a computer afterwards.
You've got to be in it to win it, after all.
The lottery?
Well, all things, and the giveaway, yes.
Yeah, but you never win in the lottery, do you?
Don't say it, you've got to be hopeful. Like we're being hopeful for England on Sunday.
Oh, that's
different. To manifest.
That's because we're going to win.
Like Ollie Watkins.
Yeah. Right, just one more day until the 12th of July celebrations. We'll bring you details from our Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie, who's produced a special report.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm joined now by Stefan Kyriasis to give us the latest on everything theatre.
So, yeah, we're going in first with Starlight Express, which is back. It's not in the West End. It's out at Wembley at the Troubadour Theatre, which is a big, almost kind of warehouse space, which suits because, as you know, have you seen the show?
Starlight Express was my first ever musical. I must have been about 7 or 8 years old. I only saw it once, but I remember it being magical.
Well, this one, it's 1984 it started, and it's still running in Bochum in Germany in a huge arena. So basically what we've got, they've slightly tweaked it, and there's a little boy or little girl, depending on the cast, going to bed, obsessed with toy trains and dreaming of trains. Everybody is dressed up. To me, it looks like a cross between Tron and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. I don't really think any of them look remotely like a train, but hey, the songs are Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's pop mixed with kind of cod 1950s rock and roll, some power ballads. The lyrics are politely like something out of an old speak and spell machine or something. You know, he's a steam train, they're out of date, he's being bullied by the diesel and the electric, and he falls for this carriage, the first-class carriage, new girl Pearl, and he wants to impress us, who enters a race, and that's pretty much it. And when the races happen, all these barriers come up around where we're sitting, the lights are flashing, the music's thumping. It's utterly ridiculous, and I felt like a kind of teenager that was huffing sherbet dib-dabs off a giant block of sugar. It's so much fun, and the really crucial thing about it all is that somehow, in the middle of all of that, I just felt myself getting into the story. And when Pearl and Rusty have their little duet, I was very moved, and there's this big starlight sequence, which is the inspiration, the magical starlight that he's seeking. It's beautiful.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats in the bomb threat zone.
As time passes,
she could have said Stump.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. The time is 8:27. Now, ahead of our live coverage of the 12th of July celebrations tomorrow, Dougie Beattie has been following the historical route of those that left Northern Ireland and headed for the New World.
Worcester lies about 40 miles west of Boston. It's known as the heart of the Commonwealth. But back in the 1700s, it was no more than a frontier's village.
So you would have to travel from Boston down the Indian Path, which is, Indian Paths were only about this wide. They were only a foot wide. They weren't very large. You would be single file. Horseback, you would be single file. There was not enough room for a stagecoach.
The unannounced arrival of the Scots-Irish was scorned upon by the establishment, and as a result, they were split into 3 groups. Among those in the Worcester placement was the Young family. The oldest was 95, and he had brought the first seed potatoes to America, that at first was greeted with suspicion.
The Governor Shute was his name. He got really upset because he saw all these people arriving in Boston and he didn't know what to do. So he decided he was going to divide them into 3 groups and send them to 3 different places to reinforce populations because of the Indian attacks. So he sent 200 people to Maine, 200 people to Londonderry, New Hampshire, and 200 people to Worcester. When they get here in Worcester, the people that were already here, about 200 of them, and they were upset because they didn't like these people because they were different and they had different clothing, they spoke different, but they had gifts of the potato and the spinning wheel, and the Congregationalists were also afraid of that potato and they threw it away. So it took a couple of seasons before they realized that they could eat the potato. They were trying to eat the tubers and the leaves, which didn't work out, right? You know, that's not good, poisonous. So eventually they figured out how to eat the potato, and it became a very sustainable fruit or vegetable in New England, and a lot of potato farms are in Maine.
The hostilities towards the families in Worcester would see them being forced to move on, and they would rejoin their countrymen further north.
The people in Worcester tried to drive the Scots out of here. Get out of my town. It was pretty much, they burned their church down, and they did whatever they could to drive them away, and a lot of them founded Pelham and Rutland and Colebrook Springs to the west of us. And that's where the potato farms are in Massachusetts.
On Dougie Beattie will have a number of special reports over the next few days to celebrate the 12th of July, which of course is tomorrow.
Yeah, and we've got special coverage from 10 o'clock tomorrow morning as well.
Yes, an extended version of breakfast as well, I must say, 6 till 10.
Yes.
And then we have special coverage with Arlene Foster, don't we?
Yeah, so that'd be
lots to look forward to.
Now, still to come with England making it to the Euro finals. I can't quite believe we're saying that.
I know.
Paul Coyte's going to have the very latest along with a very special guest in just a moment.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M62 in Cheshire is closed westbound from junction 9 at Winwick to 7 at Rainhill Stoops after an accident. There are queues from junction 6 for the M57. Long delays as you divert. Now, Merseyside Queen's Drive at Mossley Hill is closed each way for repairs to damage caused by flooding. On the M6 in Warwickshire, there's a lane closed southbound after an accident between junctions 3 and 2 near Coventry, causing delays. On the M25 in Essex, there are anti-clockwise queues from junction 29 for the A127 to 28 for the A12 because of roadworks, and clockwise through Kent for long delays from junction 4 at Orpington to 5, with queues on the M26 joining there because of roadworks. And also in Kent, the A249 is partly blocked southbound by an accident towards the M20 at Detling Hill Maidstone, causing roughly 2 miles of queues. And in Surrey, the A24 remains closed northbound from Otley to Leatherhead after a diesel spill on Tuesday. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
All right, Paul Coates here, talking sport. I'll tell you what you never want to do. The youth of today, Paul.
Oh, no.
This is in the Star this morning.
Don't ever do this, the youth of today. I don't think
Youth of today, a guy called Jack Pancaldi has got himself tattooed on his chest.
No.
Which would be bad because he's put England 2024 winners.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a gamble.
It is a gamble, but it's looking better.
But also England spelt England on it because the tattoo artist made a mistake.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, E-N-G-E-R.
What can you do in a situation like that? Do you sue the tattoo artist? Do you say, look, can you try and... You can't really rub it out, can you? There's not really a lot you can do.
I'll have to do a cover-up job, I think.
Oh,
you think so?
You can get them lasered off, but that costs as much as the tattoo again.
Well, maybe you'll start with the England thing, and then he can leave the winners maybe until Sunday, and then we'll see how things go after that.
Yeah. Because stupid thing to do. Stupid.
I know.
Anyway, but
you know
let's keep our fingers crossed.
The youth of today.
It's the youth of today.
What is youth of today?
But let's keep our fingers crossed that actually the gist of his tat is right.
Yes, exactly. Things are looking good. Things are looking good. I don't want to...
Don't jinx it.
Well, that's what I'm not going to do, because we're all superstitious, and especially in sport. For example, the late, great Martin Peters, the man that scored one of the goals in the '66 World Cup. I knew Martin very well. Martin was so superstitious, he would never walk past you on the stairs. So if you were in... So wherever you would be, if he was at one and you go onto the stairs, he'd go, no, you go first. And he would never do that, it would never pass. Honestly, he'd wait for hours.
Why? What do you think was going to happen?
I don't know, because it's just a superstition.
Oh.
And I said, Martin, what is it? And he said, oh, no, I just don't walk that. So all footballers are like that. We've already asked Peter Shilton, although Peter did say, didn't he, no, I'm not superstitious, but I always put my bag in the same place in the back of the goal. Someone who, I don't know whether he is, but another England player, to talk about what happened yesterday, played 36 times for England and also against the Netherlands in the Euros back in '88, our friend Trevor Stephen. Morning, Trevor.
Morning, Paul. How are you?
Very well. Good to see you. Superstitions, were there any for you?
Funnily enough, that one that you just mentioned about Martin Peters, you know, I was taught by my mum when I was very young that it's bad luck to cross paths with someone on a staircase.
Yeah.
So it's not just Martin Peters. But as far as football is concerned, not really superstitious.
OK. Well, look, whatever superstitions, things are looking better for England. I'm going to be slightly, I don't want to be careful, I've got to be careful about what I say. But from where we were a couple of weeks ago to where we are now, did you have faith all along? Because you know what it's like to play in tournament football and start slowly and build the momentum up.
No, I don't think any of us was really 100% convinced that England are going to go that far in this tournament. It was such a poor, dysfunctional start. And the desire for Gareth to keep the same starting 11 as much as he possibly could just had us scratching our heads as we searched around for some better form.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's played the long game, hasn't he? And got through where he's had to get through. Been rescued a couple of times, of course, but that's tournament football. You need these moments of magic or luck at times to go your way. And we've had that. But I thought last night against the Netherlands, that was fantastic. First half was really unrecognisable. When you consider going behind after 7 minutes, it kind of kicked us into another gear. Really woke us up, and we were really, really good. Fantastic. Great to see Phil Foden commanding the midfield. So many positives about it.
Is it almost a reaction, you think, with Gareth Southgate to what's been going on? He says he ignores everything, doesn't listen to anything, you know, block out all the noise. But it has got better, and has all the shouting around had anything to do with the fact that we are now looking better, if you see what I mean? Because it does just seem better now.
No, but it's the same players. But so the players have got to grips. I think the one or two things that went on last night, I thought Bellingham gave Foden a lot more room to manoeuvre. So he was playing a bit wiser, I thought, about the areas and spaces that he was getting into. Feel with Jude, sometimes he's so mobile, he just wants to keep on running. Sometimes you've got to stop, and that allowed Foden to get into places where he was influencing. And of course, you've got to mention Kobe Mainoo, who is just, talk about a duck to water. I mean, this lad is absolutely, if someone said a generational talent, and I think I'd have to agree with that. He's absolutely terrific.
There's quite a few generational talents, isn't there? There's one who's, of course, playing for Spain, who's 16 years old, is a generational talent. I think he was only born in 1997. This is what we were up against, isn't it? And the amount of talent that's in that Spanish team on Sunday, nobody would have given us a prayer a week ago. And now it looks like there's hope. How's it going to go, do you think, Trevor?
Yeah, there's hope, but we are underdogs. This is a Spanish team that is so beautifully balanced. Some terrific players. Yamal, you're referring to, 16-year-old. I mean, absolutely sensational. He likes to come in on his left foot, so I expect Kieran Trippier to maintain his position at left back. But they've got great players all over the place, and they've got Carvajal coming back in, who was suspended for the semi-final for Spain against France, and he's a very decisive player for Spain. As I said, we're underdogs, and let's enjoy the moment, get right behind the team. They deserve that now, and Gareth has performed, you know, terrifically well. Didier Deschamps said it earlier in the week, judge a manager at the end of the tournament, not during it, and we should be doing that with Gareth as well. So far, so very good.
It's amazing how the difference, isn't it? From 1 minute, there's beer being thrown over him, and then who knows, he could be knighted at the end of it, but we're not going to get superstitious or count our chickens.
No.
Will we? Can we? Trevor, finally?
Yeah, we can. Our confidence level's gone up. We've got terrific players to come on and make impact. I think Gareth mentioned that several times. Everybody's ready. 90 minutes of football come Sunday, and we've got a great chance. It's 50-50, albeit there were slight underdogs.
OK, but the thing is, with footballers, and I don't like Trevor, is it? I've often heard this. Is it easier playing in these games than it is watching them? How are you with these?
Well, no, completely different, of course, but it's emotional either way that you look at it. And to be involved, for the players to be involved in this is something that they have dreamt about as kids. And they're walking and living the dream now. But they don't want to get to finals. I've been to finals and lost. And you don't really dwell on them too long, but they hurt, they're scars. So let's hope that we can do it. We can bring football home, let's say, on Sunday and enjoy the following celebrations.
We'll do it. OK, good to speak to you. Thank you, Trevor. Trevor Stephen.
Legend. Another legend.
Another one.
Another legend.
Played against the Netherlands. He played against Ronald Koeman, actually.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, back in '88. Didn't go well. So well. Didn't really matter.
I liked the fact there was no hesitation there. Can we do it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
We can do it. Yeah, absolutely, we can do it. We're slight underdogs.
Even if we're playing...
But we like an underdog.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, when he says, you dream of it, it's what you've dreamt of since you were a kid. And then we've got Lamine Yamal, who plays for Spain, who's 16. You've got Jude Bellingham, who's just turned 20. Yeah. Some of them actually are still kids as it is.
He's been born in 2007 and now playing in a final.
Yeah, you play for Barcelona when you're 15, and then you're the best player for Spain. I mean, we've got to watch him very, very carefully. But we can do it. We absolutely can. The momentum is there.
We just need all the fans to go in with ice cream. Distract him. Ice cream and yo-yos.
Do you think so?
It'll just distract him.
Or, let's not forget, it's an 8 o'clock kickoff. He has to be in bed by 9:30. So can't go to extra time because his mum would be going, Lorraine, come on! Get off the pitch.
Yeah. Right, we'll probably be really
every trick in the book I've got, don't you worry, I've got it all.
We'll try it all. Paul, thanks very much indeed.
Do stay with us. We're going to be going through the papers next with Lynn May and Alan Minner.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates.
You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Well, we've got quite an extraordinary story to talk to you about now because a triple amputee war hero is launching a bid to become the first to sail across the Pacific Ocean non-stop, solo and unsupported.
Craig Wood was blown up as a teenager by the Taliban in Afghanistan, but now he's hoping to change the perception of disabled people and raise money for other limbless veterans like himself. And Craig joins us now. Morning.
So, Craig, you are extraordinary. You are planning to take up to 80 days to sail from La Paz in Mexico to Japan.
Yeah.
How many miles is that?
It'll be over 6,000.
Amazing.
Amazing. And it will take you how long?
The minimum it's going to take me is 60 days. It could be up to 80. Yeah.
And that's on your own. You've done plenty of this before, haven't you? You've done lots of solo sailing.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of solo sailing, but not as big as this. It is the world's biggest ocean, after all.
And why that particular route?
I wanted it to be a challenge, not just for me, but for anyone.
Right.
So any able-bodied person can look at this and go, wow, that is difficult.
Yeah.
And so that was the main drive. Then it's become a bigger thing than that now. Now I'm raising money for charity and I can truly inspire people to change their perception on what is possible for disabled people.
And if you don't mind, can we ask you what happened in 2009 in Afghanistan? What were the circumstances of your injury?
I was on a normal routine foot patrol. About 5 metres in front of me, a commando IED was triggered. And subsequently, I became a triple amputee. Both legs above the knee, left hand at the wrist, facial injuries, etc., etc.
The People's Channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
It's 8:46. Let's have a look at the papers with political commentator Lynn May and co-founder of the Together Association, Alan Miller. Morning to you both. Let's have a look at the Mail, Lynn, should we? Because we need to grow the economy, right?
Yes.
Which needs to happen. The Labour Party is pitching a lot on that. But long-term sickness is a big problem.
It's funny this, because I remember when we had loads of discussions when it was the Conservatives about getting people back into work, and Labour's rhetoric was often, you know, we're mean, we're this, we're that, if you were a little bit more conservative in your views. And now we're seeing pretty much copy and paste, because Liz Kendall, the new Work and Pensions Secretary, is stating that it's just unacceptable. 2.8 million people are out of work, economically inactive, long-term sick, and she's suggesting, and the Labour Party is suggesting, this is holding back growth, as well as a lot of young people, an increase. So what is known as NEET groups, not in education, employment and training, we now are looking at figures of 900,000 young people just not doing anything. So, you know, the Labour Party, Liz Kendall, their aim is to really push people back into work, just like the Conservatives.
Well, good.
Well, yeah, the name of Labour used to historically mean its
Very
relationship
true.
with Labour and working people. And the idea that British everyday working people are somehow sloth-like or lazy or want charity is an absolutely disgusting slur and just not true. But what's happened is we've got a situation where, on the one hand, work has been devalued, a sense of pride in work, but also, really importantly, and I think Reform had it right on this, that you have a situation where if you're on benefits now in Britain, the low pay that we see in many areas does not equip you to go out into the workplace. And what we need to do is redress that balance. We need to deal with the question of benefits, but of low pay. And we've had
Ian
these...
Duncan Smith was meant to be doing that.
Indeed, and I think that's why there are many ways to do that. But one of the key ways is about serious investment in infrastructure, house building, the development of energy, a range of ambitious plans that can engage the workforce. Say we have less benefits, but also because there's actually around 5 million people now. I mean, obviously the lockdowns and all these things have had an impact, but our low level of productivity and investment has meant that we've got a situation and wanting to keep on bringing.
But we're the only one.
Workers that get paid less.
In the G7, we're completely behind everyone else with regards to getting back to pre-pandemic levels. Why do you think that's specific to us? What's different about the other G7 countries where they've managed to get back into employment pre-pandemic, but we're just not moving
I think
into work?
You have to look at each of the nations, but I mean, obviously Germany's had very particular questions and issues in the recent period, and it isn't the sort of rosy picture it has been historically in terms of their productivity and development. They were the wealthiest European state. I think the question of long-term stagnation for Britain has to be addressed, and part of that is putting the workplace in. That's why the question about cheap migrant labour is an important one. The idea that you can just somehow keep paying people less money and bring them in from elsewhere, rather than really addressing the issue of serious pay for people in Britain and encouraging an environment where some companies fail. They're like zombie companies. Let them fail, but then have fertile soil for retraining, investment and development.
You need to support business to be able to do that, though. And I don't think businesses feel supported in many other areas. If you look at the high streets, they're decimated. If you look at, corporation tax, this up. So if businesses are not feeling supported, then they can't increase their salaries.
Well, you're right. We have to what we actually need to do is get everyone engaged, get our citizens engaged and businesses with a strong long-term plan, not a short-term electoral cycle plan, where we say over the next 50 years, we plan to be, again, ahead in engineering and innovation in dynamic wealth creation for everyone.
Yeah,
and that's something we could do, but it takes commitment, it takes ambition, and it takes a sense of ideas and values that you need to address that.
Right.
Alan, should we take a look at the Telegraph? This is page 6 today. It's Suella Braverman hitting back at Kemi Badenoch. This is over her claim that she's having a very public nervous breakdown.
It's so sad, isn't it? Because, you know, Kemi Badenoch and Suella Braverman are both brilliant, smart women. I don't happen to agree with how they could have stayed in the Conservative Party in the last few years, and I didn't support the Conservatives. Actually argued a lot with Together against a lot of their policies and what they've done. But this trivialising a debate and making it about someone's mental health, or so, it's just silly. Now, I get it, it's a polemical point to try and assert herself in a leadership competition for the Conservatives. What I would say to both of them, really, they should join Reform, actually. It would be a much more prospects for the future. I'm not sure Reform would have them at this point, but this idea that you're having a public nervous breakdown when you seek to address the concerns that many members and many voters have got, clearly millions have got them because they voted for Reform, and many more didn't vote. And I think that this idea that somehow you just poo-poo it by making a comment like this is silly. But what it looks like is, it's a fight for the future of the hearts and minds of conservatism. And I don't know what that's going to look like now, because there seems to be a blancmange with much of what many of the technocrats in the Conservatives and many of the technocrats in Labour has become.
I don't know why blancmange gets such a hard time in this. What do you make of it all, Lou?
I don't know. I think that's a bit of a harsh statement to make, you know, to suggest she's having a breakdown. It was supposed to be a private conversation as such. It wasn't supposed to be leaked. I think many of us can attest to saying, you know, is that person having a breakdown? Yeah. But not necessarily saying they're barking, raving mad, you know, or like they actually have mental health issues, which is a very serious thing. But at the same time, if I look at Suella Braverman, I do agree with some things, but her delivery is horrendous. Sometimes you have to look at her and think, what made you think that saying it like that would be a good idea? So I understand the comments from Kemi Badenoch about Suella Braverman.
OK, we're down to 1 minute. So I thought we'd talk about a man with 100 live snakes in his pants.
Oh, I know. And the thing is, I mean, I wouldn't be able to comment. Maybe you gentlemen can let me know. But the last thing, as a man, you're going to want to do is try and get through customs, but with snakes in your pants. You know, 100 live snakes wriggling around. And I don't even know how, as a person, you would conceal that, especially, as I said, with your male parts.
He didn't conceal it, but all these arguments are often used, and they're being used here as well, to increase things like ID cards to control us everywhere. We've actually got an event in Leeds on this on Tuesday.
What's that got to do with snakes in your pants?
Well, I think it's got to do with border controls and the fact that China has a social,
it doesn't happen every
social
day.
credit system, and that they use digital ID and tracking and facial, and it's
still
used
didn't
as an
work.
argument.
Still didn't work for
it's
this
used as an argument to limit and control things, and actually it's often about how humans engage with one another that you actually address those things.
Oh, that's a heck of a segue. I'll give you 10 out of 10 for trying, though. I'll give you that. All right, thank you both. It's been good to see you this morning.
And Alan, thank you very much indeed. Let's take a look at the weather now, shall we, with Aidan McGibbon.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Following the gloomy and wet weather we've seen so far this week, well, it's going to stay largely cloudy today with some showery rain. But for many, it's going to be drier and brighter compared with the last few days. Certainly some brightness coming through for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland. A few showers here, but otherwise largely fine. The remnants of the wet weather we've seen during recent days just clearing northeast Scotland through the morning. And brighter skies for the south, where it's going to be relatively warm, 23 or 22 Celsius. But in between, this zone of cloud just sticking about for parts of East and North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England. Showers or longer spells of rain at times. Some sharp showers actually later in the day coming through for the Midlands and East Wales. But for Scotland, at least, it is cheering up compared with recent weather. The best of the sunshine, the north and the west of Scotland. 15, 16 Celsius, not particularly hot, but nevertheless feeling pleasant enough in the sun out of the breeze. Northern Ireland, likewise, 1 or 2 light showers, otherwise largely fine. But we've got these sharp showers across the Midlands into East Wales that one needs to keep an eye on. They could be fairly heavy and hit around the time of the rush hour. In the far south, largely dry and a clear evening to come before this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain moves up from the continent and just spills into the south coast by the end of the day. That's going to continue overnight. Elsewhere, it's turning drier with some clear spells. It's going to be a fresher night compared with recent nights in the south, but temperatures still at 13 or 14 Celsius at the start of Friday. Friday starts off with a lot of fine weather. Actually, the best of the sunshine this time will be across central and southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, for example. But we'll see a lot of cloud in the south and outbreaks of rain, particularly towards the southeast, and some sharp showers developing towards the far southwest. Otherwise, for many, it is a drier and brighter day. It's not going to feel particularly warm. Temperatures in the high teens.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M62 in Cheshire is closed westbound north of Warrington from junction 9 at Winwick to 7 at Rainhill Stoops after an accident. There are queues in both directions from junction 6 for the M57 and back beyond junction 10 for the M6. No long delays too as you divert the M6 queuing north from junction 23 at Haydock. Now on Merseyside, Queen's Drive at Mossley Hill is closed each way for repairs to damage caused by flooding. On the M6 in Warwickshire, there's a lane closed southbound after an accident between junctions 3 and 2 near Coventry, causing delays. On the M32 in Bristol, there's a lane closed northbound for repairs after an accident between junction 1 and the M4, with queues back beyond junction 2. And in Surrey, the A24 remains closed northbound from Ockley to Leatherhead after a diesel spill on Tuesday. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
£30,000 in cash has to be won. It's our biggest cash prize so far, and it could be yours. Phil was a winner. Listen to what he says about winning the Great British Giveaway.
Hi, my name's Phil Cox. I just looked at my account and thought, oh my God, yeah, it's true, it's gone into my account. And if I can win it, anybody can win it.
The next big winner could be you, with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Doogie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations from the beautiful city of Belfast.
And right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. Now, here's a question. Is football coming home?
Well, the Three Lions roared to victory in the semi-final of the Euros, beating the Netherlands 2-1 in a nail-biting match.
Well, Ollie Watkins clinched the winner in the 90th minute.
Lost for words, really. When you score, there's the emotions that come through your body, but this is just a different feeling. It was slow motion when I was running over to the boys and celebrating.
England will face Spain in the final this Sunday.
Well, football fans around the country celebrate all night long following that victory in Dortmund.
To be honest, I didn't really think we had it, but we've got it, we've done it. Last minute again. Come on, England, you know, come on.
All night long. England, third major final and their first on foreign soil that they've ever played, and will now take on Spain in the Euro 24 final this Sunday.
Also for you today, a dramatic manhunt ends after a triple murder suspect is airlifted from a North London cemetery.
Starmer, the statesman, the Prime Minister, reaffirms the country's special relationship with the US as he concludes his first ever NATO summit in Washington.
And according to plans laid out by the water regulator Ofwat, water bills are set to rise by £94 over the next 5 years.
No signs of a heat wave anytime soon, but following the gloomier wet start to the week, I do at least have news of something a little drier and brighter for many of us. Coming up shortly in the forecast.
Just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
We're going to talk football for you with Paul in just a moment, but we just want to kick off with NATO 2024 coming to a close, with Sir Keir Starmer completing his first trip as PM on the world stage.
Well, the Prime Minister has confirmed the UK's £3 billion a year military aid for Kyiv will continue, and said the visit was an opportunity to recommit to NATO and to the special relationship with the United States.
Well, our political editor, Christopher Hope, was in Washington, D.C. and sent this report.
Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, Freshman's general election victory last Friday, is here in Washington, D.C. for the 75th anniversary meeting of the NATO Defence Organisation. Joe Biden, the US Democratic President, he's chairing it. He met with Sir Keir Starmer yesterday on stage at the NATO summit, and the pair met last night for dinner at the White House and a meeting in the Oval Office, a fireside chat in the Oval Office. No question, Sir Keir Starmer is the guy to meet. We saw a very warm meeting between the French President Emmanuel Macron, who may see Sir Keir Starmer as an antidote to the populism sweeping the continent. But still there's pressure on Sir Keir Starmer. He won't say when the UK will spend £1 billion more on defence, when we might meet that target of hitting 2.5% of our GDP spent on defence, the billions more required by Ukraine, our key ally. He did meet with President Zelensky, the Ukraine leader, yesterday in Washington. That was a warm meeting. We saw David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, and John Healey, the Defence Secretary, both there meeting with him. But otherwise, key issues remain, notably our prisons. Overnight, Sir Keir Starmer has said they will announce very shortly plans to release criminals early, maybe after serving as little as 40% of their terms, or their jail terms. He, as a former chief prosecutor, knows there's real problems in the prisons and the need to take action. He'll try and make sure that only the least dangerous are released early, but there's pressure on Sir Keir Starmer. If any of those prisoners are released early commit further crimes, then the heat's back on him. He's got to get planning new prisons quickly. He's blaming the Tory party for now, but that can't go on forever. Christopher Hope, Washington, D.C.
Well, let's talk to Conservative MP Gareth Davis. Good to see you this morning. Look, I mean, what do you make of what the Prime Minister has set out at this summit? Because, I mean, certainly in terms of defence spending, well, we haven't got a timetable, but, you know, 2.5% is going to happen, we're told. In terms of Ukraine, well, he's backing Zelensky to the hilt, much as the Conservative Party always have. I mean, are they things that you welcome?
Of course we do, and we in government were steadfast in our support for Ukraine under Boris Johnson and Liz Truss under Rishi Sunak. We made that very clear that we have to stand by our allies. We are a significant contributor to NATO. This is its 75th year, and it's important that we continue to be that and to be supportive of our allies across the world, in particular the United States. But we do need to be clear as well, and our allies expect us to be clear in terms of how much we are going to be spending on defence. We obviously had an election campaign in which we as a Conservative Party set out clear plans to deliver on 2.5% of GDP defence spending by 2030. And now in opposition, we call on the Prime Minister to urgently set out a timeline for getting to 2.5%, so that it's not just clear for our own armed forces, but for the allies that we have across the world.
Can I ask you about the state of the Conservative Party now, almost a week on from the general election? A post-defeat inquest is taking place at the moment, isn't it? Where does the party go from here? There's a story in the Telegraph this morning that 47% of Conservative Party members said they would back a Conservative and Reform merger. Would you like to welcome in Nigel Farage and Reform UK into the Tory party?
Well, look, the first thing to say is that it was an incredibly difficult election for my party. We lost the support and trust of millions of people across the country, in different parts of the country, to different parties, not just one party. And so we now need to reflect on that with humility and to decide how we best go forward to rebuild that trust, win back those millions of voters that left us, and have a leader in place who can unite our party. And that's for the 1922 committee to set out the details of in due course. But just on Reform specifically, clearly we did lose supporters to that party, but that is a party that has enabled this Labour government to have a very big majority, to enable them to increase taxes and to increase immigration, which is, I don't think, what most of those people wanted. So I'm confident we can win back their trust, those people that left us, but we need to unite to be able to do that.
Well, how do you unite to do that? Because I mean, is it a case of shifting more to the centre ground to win people back who may have gone to the Lib Dems or Labour, or do you need to move further to the right to pull back those Reform voters? I mean, how would you like to see it done?
Well, the first thing to say is that we are a broad church. We always have been a broad church, but we should draw strength from every part. And that's what I will be looking for in a leadership candidate, somebody who can unite the party, drawn strength from every part of the party, but not just to focus on policies. Our values are the values of the British public. I want a party that puts forward a way in which we can push people up who want to succeed, not pull them down when they do succeed. That's what conservatism is all about, that aspiration that we've all got into politics to pursue, and to form an effective and professional opposition that can hold this Labour government to account, which we believe are going to put up taxes and increase immigration, as I say. It's vital that we do that, but we need to take our time, get this right, make sure that we've got in place the right team to form that opposition.
Who do you think can unite the party? Who would you like to see as leader of the Tory party now?
Well, look, nobody has announced their candidacy yet, and we haven't even got the rules or the time frame for the leadership campaign. I will obviously make a decision in due course when it's clearer, and we've heard from everybody that's put themselves forward. You're hopefully not going to expect me to sort of announce any endorsement this morning, because nobody's announced that they're running yet, and so we'll just have to wait and see. But it is important that we take our time to get this right. As I say, we've got to rebuild the trust. We've got to win back the millions of people that left us.
OK, Gareth Davies, good to see you this morning. Thanks very much indeed. It's always worth a punt.
Worth a punt. There's two names circulating at the moment, which is Kemi Badenoch and Suella Braverman. But he's going to keep tight-lipped on that for now, I think. Yeah,
Badenoch's got a lot more support in terms of what do you call it? Betting. The odds. The odds. That's what it is. I wonder what the odds are on England winning Euro 2024. We're the underdogs, aren't we, Paul Coyte?
I could start doing the tic-tac and letting you know exactly what it is. I reckon it's probably about 3-1. I think probably just outside us, just about, because it's going to be Spain on Sunday. My goodness, what a game, and how exciting it's getting now. So England beat Holland. Or the Netherlands. Where are you on this? Holland or the Netherlands?
Netherlands.
Oh, the Netherlands?
The Netherlands,
Netherlands.
It was Holland. He's part of the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Holland back in the old days, it was always Holland. Johan Cruyff played for Holland, not the Netherlands, but now it's Netherlands.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Also Netherlands, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's all by the by. Nobody cares. They're done. They're done and dusted. They've been knocked out. England won. It started off 7 minutes in. Xavi Simons scored for the Netherlands, and then we got a penalty. Now, yes, I think it was a lucky penalty. There's two schools of thought, as always, with situations like that, and went to VAR. Oh, it was definitely a penalty if it was anywhere else. Basically, Denzel Dumfries managed. It was kind of
confusing with a player called Dumfries playing for the Netherlands.
It can be a little confusing, but yeah, Denzel Dumfries. It was his foot that kind of Harry Kane took a whack to his right foot from his foot. Said to the referee, went to the monitor as VAR said check it. Great penalty from Harry, but this is karma for me. This is I'm calling it Koeman karma.
Koeman karma.
In fact, I'll get Ellie involved, and we'll get maybe we'll get Jack involved, and I'll be involved, and we could be the Coit, Costello, Carson, Koeman.
Yeah, just
karma.
Just be very.
If only there was a C involved there, but I would never have that. But anyway, so
I was on edge then.
I will try it again. Listen, you don't worry with me. I don't have to worry with me. So anyway, it was karma because back in 1993, Ronald Koeman brought down David Platt in the box. This was to qualify for the World Cup. And it should have been our penalty. Free kick was given, and he should have been sent off. He was kept on the pitch, then scored the winning free kick. So anyway, it's Koeman karma.
Koeman karma
with Costello and Coit.
I don't know what we call. What do we call Watkins in terms of a Watkins wonder?
I think so.
He was a wonder.
He really was.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Actually.
He manifested it, didn't he?
Well, he did, didn't he? Because
he did. He said it was going to happen.
He's to Noel Edmonds.
I'm telling you.
Is that why she's wearing two different shoes today? I wondered why that was. So there's Ollie Watkins and Cole Palmer came on as substitutes towards the end of the game. People were questioning Gareth Southgate and his substitutions, why they're not made earlier, why is he not making them? But anyway, he made a very big call to take off Harry Kane, and he did so. And anyway, they came on, and it was Cole Palmer that provided the ball for Ollie Watkins, who scored the goal, and he said that they'd even discussed it before they came on.
Yeah.
And it was terrific, and it was so late as well, in the 90th minute, and it's the latest goal scored in a semi-final of a major competition.
Oof. Quite phenomenal.
And it's all manifested by him and Noel Edmonds.
And Noel. But Noel just he just believes in manifesting things, doesn't he? Like that.
Well, you know what? If it's a load of old nonsense, one thing, whether it is. But anyway, they said they talked about it, and if it works, then I say keep doing it for the Spanish.
How does it work then? Because I was wondering who's going to be in the starting lineup on Sunday. Because you've got to look. Ice Cold Palmer, as every time he's come on, been fantastic. I mean, Watkins. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, man of the match last night.
Well, he was man of the match, but for a very short space of time. He wasn't on for long, was he? It was a great goal and very important.
But it was a phenomenal goal.
But I mentioned this earlier. It's like rugby started doing starters and finishers. Well, they're substitutions and they're impact subs. So when things are turning and you need someone to turn to and turn it round, that's where Ollie Watkins came in, and it worked brilliantly, and he was absolutely perfect in that situation. And he was saying he's had to be very patient and wait for his time. But he came on and it did do the job.
You wouldn't start him?
I wouldn't start him. I'd stay again, keep the same team again. Absolutely, he'll get his chance should we need him. Yeah, if he's there, we should need him. But Phil Foden was terrific as well, though he was taken off for Harry Kane. I should mention him.
Yeah, he was on the front foot, wasn't he?
I mean, he was. Was
that good footballing?
He was on the front foot, back foot, side foot. He was every foot.
I really wanted Foden to get a goal. He was so desperate for a goal.
And you know what? And it was yesterday's game, he looked more comfortable than he has been the whole time. Because the thing is, he was turning, he looked comfortable. It looked like when he plays for his club side, Manchester City. And it seemed like a Premier League game as well, and it kind of suited everybody.
And Bellingham was kind of coming back, wasn't he, and allowing him to come forward.
Yeah, Jude Bellingham as well. You know what a good player Jude Bellingham is. You know, we've got the side. We're now ready. The momentum. I'm trying to keep away from any cliches, but it's not easy. It's not easy. But it's a game of two halves, Stephen, I've got to tell you, and I'll be sick as a parrot if we don't win.
I think
we will.
Sam Matterface last night in the commentary said something about you can't start a fire without a spark, or something like that. I used to work with Sam.
Yes, I know Sam very well as well.
Lovely man. Nice, but I just thought, oh, come on.
He loves those. But you know why he used the Dancing in the Dark thing?
Oh, no.
It's because it's a Phil Foden song. So not that Bruce Springsteen would feel that way, but it's used for Phil Foden. So that's why they're using Dancing in the Dark, and then he used the Bruce Springsteen. But knowing Sam, I thought he was going to go through the whole damn Bruce Springsteen back catalogue, going on until goodness, here's the river, and it's the no, just enough. No, but anyway, we've got a huge game.
I don't know how they do it. the commentators.
Well, I'll tell you what they do. Things like that, they sit down and work it out before they go on the air. They say, oh, I know. What can we do? What can we do? You know which ones and which ones aren't. And you've obviously know that I've never scripted anything in my life, and that's why I'm so loose. That's why it's so poor, whatever I do. But it's time to get excited. We're allowed to get excited. We've been through the tough qualifying. Gareth Southgate has done everything right, although people have questioned him, and he has now been... Has he been vindicated? Well, we'll find out on Sunday.
Well, he's got us to a final.
Exactly, another final.
Yeah.
Another final.
I mean,
His record is quite good, really, isn't it?
It is. And this is the third final that England have ever been in, and it's the first final that we've ever faced on foreign soil, Ellie. The first time on foreign soil.
On foreign fake grass.
Exactly.
Whatever it might be.
Yes.
Paul, thank you very much indeed.
We have everything crossed for Sunday.
Absolutely. We'll talk a lot about Sunday tomorrow, I imagine.
Fabulous. Right,
that's
now...
crossing everything.
Is it, oh, dear me. If you need something else to cheer you up this morning, how about having a go at our Great British giveaway? Because you could win our biggest cash prize so far. It is an incredible...
You need to do it.
No, you do it.
£30,000. See, I don't have the...
No, it doesn't work. Anyway, it's totally tax-free, which means you get every single penny. So here are the details you need.
Summer could be a scorcher, with your chance to win £30,000 cash, our biggest cash prize to date. It's totally tax-free, which means you get to spend every single penny however you like. What plans would you make with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank account? Take your family on the ultimate holiday, buy that treat that's always seemed out of reach, or just put it in the bank for a later date. However you'd spend it, make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. Still to come, the latest on the triple murder in Bushey is the most heartbreaking story. Our reporter Charlie Peters is there for us in the next few moments.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes...
She could have said Stump. You made my argument for me. My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere. Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Now, time for the best part of the show, Our Greatest Britain, where we share amazing people who do amazing things. And this week, that is Dr. Leo Cheng and Reverend Hilary Cheng.
Well, Dr. Chen regularly serves as a volunteer surgeon aboard the Mercy ships in West Africa and has recently served his 17th mission aboard the ships. He volunteers with his wife, Reverend Hilary Cheng, a Methodist minister in the UK.
Thank you for joining us, and what a privilege. So just briefly explain, what are Mercy ships?
Well, Mercy ships provide world-class surgery on the ship, and the ship then sail to these poorest of the poor country because there's no infrastructure to get road or rail there. And we offer free surgery and also education, training of medical staff, and partner with the local or the host nation to build up their surgical and anaesthetic services.
So how long have you been travelling West Africa? You go on all these different ships, different ports, and you treat the needy and the vulnerable. How long have you both been doing this?
20 years.
20 years?
Just over 20 years.
And you take the time to do this out of your own holiday from work. Why do you do it?
Well, because I'm indebted to the education in this country with all the qualification I get. And NHS is great. I love the NHS because without NHS, we see cases that we see in the low-income country. And I want to make use of my hand to help those people who have no way of helping themselves. Because the tumours, the deformities, not just a physical ailment, but it's being ostracised and die early, commit suicide because they've been ostracised by their family.
When you're on the ship, you are seeing the very worst that the country can offer. I find it a great privilege to work alongside these people.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Now, the chief suspect in a triple murder in Hertfordshire has been located by police following an extensive manhunt.
It's understood the three murdered women, aged 25, 28 and 61, were two daughters and the wife of the BBC racing commentator John Hunt. The suspect is receiving medical treatment, having been found in a cemetery in Enfield with a number of injuries. No arrests have been made as yet. The investigation is ongoing.
Well, joining us now live in Bushey is our reporter, Charlie Peters. Charlie, this is the most heartbreaking story. You can only imagine how John Hunt and his third daughter are feeling this morning. Bring us up to speed on the latest developments.
It's a heartbreaking story, and here in Bushey there's been no formal identification of the victims by the Hertfordshire Constabulary, but we have had statements from friends and indeed employers of Mr Hunt saying that they think it's an utterly devastating situation and explaining some of the appalling feelings that must be being felt by that family at the moment. Floral tributes have been laid here at Ashling Close, excuse me, in Bushey, where the incident took place on Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. It was a targeted attack, that's what the police said at the time, using a crossbow and other weapons, that triple killing on the Tuesday evening. That launched a significant manhunt operation with the Metropolitan Police supporting the Hertfordshire Constabulary in an operation which quickly focused in Enfield, several miles east of here in North London, where specialist armed response units and indeed counter-terrorism specialist firearms officers and search units were seen swarming several locations there. Before around 6 p.m. last night, that manhunt came to a close with the chief suspect, Kyle Clifford, aged 26, being detained in a cemetery near the last known observation point where the police were seen earlier in the day. Now, they issued a statement at the time to say that Mr Clifford had been taken into a major trauma centre in London, and they expressed very clearly that the police had not fired a shot during that proceeding. So he's understood to be receiving medical attention at the moment. Here in Bushey, though, the investigation is continuing. We expect that the forensics teams will continue their work today, as there's been a recent turnover in the police cordon here in Hertfordshire.
OK, Charlie, for now, thanks very much indeed. Well, Britain's Newsroom heading your way at 9:30. Ben, Leo and Nana Aquia are here to give us a brief rundown of what you've got in store.
Good morning to you. It's coming home.
Yes, it is.
We hope it is. We really hope it is.
Or are we getting ahead of ourselves?
I think you're getting ahead of yourselves. I mean, look...
She's still in Dutch orange.
Says Nana in the Dutch
look
orange.
Look at me. No, I'm just rubbing the faces in it. We won. Yeah. Yeah, no.
Yeah, big show coming up. Not least analysis on the football, but of course, elsewhere, Labour, the prison reforms, the crisis is worse than thought. Ministers in the Times this morning saying that they could be scrapping short custodial sentences for criminals. I mean, would that leave us in a state of San Francisco, criminal hellhole? Who knows?
Well, it'll be interesting. Yvette Cooper, our new Home Secretary, will be talking about all of the things. And I'm wondering what she's going to do with regards to things like crossbows as well, as to why it seems to be quite easy to access these deadly weapons. I think you can get one if you're 18. It's just shocking.
It's crazy.
Buy them online at the moment. Yeah.
Right, we'll see you two a little bit later on. Thank you very much indeed. That's it from us. We'll see you tomorrow. But here's your weather.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Following the gloomy and wet weather we've seen so far this week, where it's going to stay largely cloudy today with some showery rain. But for many, it's going to be drier and brighter compared with the last few days. Certainly some brightness coming through for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland. A few showers here, but otherwise largely fine. The remnants of the wet weather we've seen during recent days just clearing northeast Scotland through the morning, and brighter skies for the south, where it's going to be relatively warm, 23 or 22 Celsius. But in between, this zone of cloud just sticking about for parts of East and North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England. Showers or longer spells of rain at times. Some sharp showers actually later in the day coming through for the Midlands and East Wales. But for Scotland at least, it is cheering up compared with recent weather. The best of the sunshine, the north and the west of Scotland. 15, 16 Celsius, not particularly hot, but nevertheless feeling pleasant enough in the sun out of the breeze. Northern Ireland likewise, 1 or 2 light showers, otherwise largely fine. But we've got these sharp showers across the Midlands into East Wales that one needs to keep an eye on. They could be fairly heavy and hit around the time of the rush hour. In the far south, largely dry and a clear evening to come before this zone of cloud and outbreaks of rain moves up from the continent and just spills into the south coast by the end of the day. That's going to continue overnight. So elsewhere, it's turning drier with some clear spells. It's going to be a fresher night compared with recent nights in the south, but temperatures still at 13 or 14 Celsius at the start of Friday. Friday starts off with a lot of fine weather. Actually, the best of the sunshine this time will be across central and southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, for example. But we'll see a lot of cloud in the south and outbreaks of rain, particularly towards the southeast, and some sharp showers developing towards the far southwest. Otherwise, for many, it is a drier and brighter day. It's not going to feel particularly warm. Temperatures in the high teens.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. The M62 in Cheshire is closed westbound north of Warrington from junction 9 at Winwick to 7 at Rainhill Stoops after an accident. There are long delays in both directions with queues from junction 6 for the M57, back beyond junction 10 for the M6 and also on the M6 north from junction 23 at Haydock. On the M6 in Warwickshire, there's a lane closed southbound where someone's broken down between junctions 4 and 3 from the M42 to Coventry, causing delays. On the M32 in Bristol, there's a lane closed northbound for repairs after an accident between junction 1 at Hambrook and the M4, with queues towards there. And in Surrey, the A24 remains closed northbound from the Clark's Green roundabout near Ockley to the Knoll roundabout at Leatherhead, with the A243 closed from there to the M25 after a diesel spill on Tuesday. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.